December 15th meeting of the Planning Commission of Nevada City, and we are called to order. Clapper. I'll read the mission statement because I like to. The City of Nevada City is dedicated to preserving and enhancing its small-town character and historical architecture while providing quality public services for our current and future residents, businesses, and visitors. This Planning Commission meeting convenes on the ancestral territories of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe, and Commissioner Irmshar's got a longer statement she'd like to read.
We acknowledge the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though they are nearly invisible and their story continues to be excluded from history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribe families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people as well as the campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition. For more information and to support the tribe, visit nisenan.org.
Thanks. Pledge of Allegiance. Peter, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
If you'll join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, how about a roll call?
Chair Nye.
Here.
Vice Chair Cobden is absent, at least for the moment. Commissioner Van Zant.
Here.
Commissioner Brown is absent today. And Commissioner Irmshar.
Here.
Now's the time for hearing from the public, public comments for items not on the agenda. All such comments are welcome and are limited to 3 minutes. However, action or discussion by the commission may not occur at this time. This is just for items not on the agenda. No one here? Anyone on Zoom or other platforms?
Oh, sorry, that's me, my cue.
Would you like to make a public comment?
If anybody out there, we do have a hand up. Oh, it keeps bouncing around on me. Hold on. Hi, Judith. You're welcome to address the commission.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Hi, good evening. This is Judith Lowry. I've been thinking a little bit lately about the historic aspect of the ordinances that we have that sort of govern the look of the town. And I'm beginning to think that this focus on the gold rush or mother lode, which there really isn't such a thing as mother lode architecture, really. It's really what we have here is a pastiche of styles in this wonderful little town that represent several stunning eras of our history. And I'm with our dear late Connolly Weaver, a big proponent of Art Deco. We have several buildings that I'm wondering, are we supposed to pretend that they don't exist and that they're not part of our history? Because what's stunning about those buildings and their era in Art Deco is here we are again in the 20s, the roaring 20s, and those buildings represented this county's unique status of having survived the gold rush because of the mines and the richness of the forests and the grazing lands. So I don't think we should focus on the gold rush anymore. And I think we should start thinking in terms of what some of these younger people in town are looking at and is style and charm and making the town look as though we actually found mother lode, making us look successful rather than run down and grayed out. We were told when we first were doing a house in town, restoring an old mansion, that we should mute the colors and not use this glorious blue that my husband wanted. And, you know, we resisted that because didn't really believe in the gold rush. And that comes from your very land acknowledgement. I do, Pitt River, and I relate to the Nisenan people here in the foothills. And there's nothing really glorious about the gold rush to us. It's like asking Jewish people to celebrate Hitler's birthday or the establishment of the Third Reich. It no longer plays to the young people. We're no longer a sunset, sunset magazine book of the gold rush with its dusty towns and streets. That kind of thing is over. And if we're to survive the oncoming onslaught of the economics and the environmental challenges ahead of us, we need to think differently. And Commissioner Nye, you and I had one small conversation when I met you the first time when you toured our property and saw our philosophy about the internal part of these buildings. And we've already seen how dangerous it is to have buildings slide into disrepair. I wonder if there should be another wing of the commission that addresses these issues going forward, energy consumption and fire safety of especially downtown. We have a lot of geriatric buildings that have not been seen to. And that's really, I just want to say, in closing, that we have a city hall, an elementary school, a courthouse, the College of Ayurveda, and possibly the Bonanza, if you want to stretch it, that represent an era different than the gold rush. And I think that we need to, I know it's going to be hard for people. Change is difficult, but we need to think about this and where we are and who we are now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Public or?
If anyone in Zoom world would like to make a public comment, please raise your virtual hand. Not seeing anyone.
Okay. Commissioner Cobden is here now.
I apologize for being late.
It's all right. Thanks for coming. All right, we have a consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine in nature, and all recommended actions of the staff report will be approved by one motion unless a commissioner would like to remove either of these from the consent calendar to discuss and vote on independently. Otherwise, there will be no separate discussion of these items. Oh, I covered that. Motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item is Historic District sign, Glow Med Aesthetics at 419 Broad Street.
And I believe I saw our applicant on Zoom.
I have to recuse myself from that, 5 and 7.
Okay.
Sorry, which ones?
3, 5, and 7.
So out into purgatory you go.
Purgatory I go.
Is it cold out there? No, it's nice.
No, it's beautiful. Would you like to read the intro for this?
Yes,
Or-
sorry, let me pull.
Do we have an applicant?
She's on Zoom. So
Okay.
let me move the past. Hi, Jenna. I'm going to give a brief introduction to your proposal, and then the commission may have some questions for you. Can you hear us?
Okay, this is Grace, her assistant, just so you know.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to interrupt. Are you guys hearing that well enough? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is a sign proposal. Business owner Jenna Wardle is applying for 2 new hanging signs for her business, Glow Med Aesthetics. One sign is proposed to hang between the 2 porch posts on the building, right at the deck there, right in front of the entrance. And then another is proposed to hang from between posts and an existing kiosk sign, which is detached from the building and located in the front yard area. Both signs will be 2-sided. The total square footage of both sides adds up to 16.334 square feet. The letter style is Minion Pro. The graphic, I described it as a glowing sphere. The colors are, the background color is a Terrytown green, which is from our historical color palette. The lettering, graphics, and border are a metallic gold, which I assume is like a, what do you call that? What do you call that? The metal gold.
Gold leaf?
Gold leaf,
looking?
thank you.
Yeah.
And that's all I have, unless Jenna has something to add. And I'll pull this up.
Okay, Jenna, do you have anything to add to what Amy said?
No, that's it.
Okay,
She covered it.
all right. Any questions from the commission? Peter?
No question.
No
Amy?
questions?
I have no questions either.
Didn't even get a chance to pull it up.
Read Mike.
Well, just so that the public knows what we're,
So, and now we invite public comments
yeah.
on this. If anyone present in person or on the platforms would like to comment on the sign application.
Anyone in person? Doesn't look like it. Anybody out there in Zoom world want to make a comment on the Glow Aesthetics, Glow Med Aesthetics sign? Not seeing anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, discussion from the commission.
No discussion. I'll make a move to accept.
I'll second.
I'd like to interrupt for a comment. My take on the sign, it's beautiful. It's a replacement sign, I think. There's a, this business exists. Not that that matters, but my take on this is that it's predominantly logo graphic. And it also, just below the first presentation of the picture on the application, it says, "No sign shall be allowed except a sign which identifies or advertises the business conducted on the premises." But the words Nevada City are also on the sign. And that's not a customary thing. There was an exception made for it, unless I am incorrect in that regard.
I'm only, so there was another sign where we had this. I think the commission asked them to remove it, and then maybe it got back on there. But I've been advised by our attorney that we can't regulate the content. So if someone wants to say Nevada City, they can. So that might be a section of our, is it in our guidelines or it's in our code, I think, that we should think about revising just so it's in line with code. But I wonder if, Russ, if you're out there, can you help clear that up?
Sorry, on two screens and trying to get my mouse to find the right button. Yeah, I would concur with that. You know, we shouldn't be, we should be looking at the sign as a whole and not the words on the sign specifically. So, and for all I know, that's actually the name of the company, Med Aesthetic Nevada City.
Is that the name of the company? Oh, that's a question for the applicant.
Grace, are you able to hear us? Says she's still on. Grace, can you hear us?
Lost her?
She's still on. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Muted?
No, she's not muted.
I could continue talking. My intent is not to be hard-nosed or overly bossy, controlly, but just consistent with sign approvals that I've watched before I was on the commission and after I was on the commission. Generally, Nevada City isn't included unless it's, and literally, no sign should be allowed except a sign which identifies or advertises the business conducted on the premises.
Well, it doesn't say excluding.
That's
I don't
true.
think that statement excludes putting Nevada City on it. If anything, it's making it more specific.
Okay. I'm going by consistency. I'm just reaching for consistency, and I don't know if there's consensus for consistency. The other issue I have with it is that the word Metaesthetic and Nevada City, if it stays, are very small in relation to the logo, and I think it might be a better sign and more legible and more attractive if those words were larger and the logo was smaller. But that just may be me.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
We made a similar adjustment on another sign that was mostly logographic and not so much on the name of the business.
I would take it as is.
All right, well,
So do you have a suggestion?
just to move the inner border in, widen the band around the oval that contains the graphic, and make the font larger, top and bottom, smaller glow, and what, sunburst?
What did I say? I can't remember what I said, a glowing sphere.
Glowing sphere. Make the glowing sphere and glow just slightly smaller, a few points smaller, and Metaesthetics and Nevada City larger.
Well, I think you're right. The predominant instruction is the name of the establishment and what they do. Joe's Barbershop type thing.
That's the point I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
And it's been a modification we've asked applicants to make consistently.
So your proposal is to redesign it, bring the graphic around the glow down so it's not so dominant, and increase the size of the letters?
Can increase the font of the text on the top and on the bottom. And I wonder if Grace is back, or if she's heard this.
Grace, are you able to hear us now? Oh, and Russ has a comment.
We have a comment from the city attorney.
Oh, can't hear you. What's going on here? You're not muted. I don't know. I've got an exclamation point on my audio. I don't know what that means.
Anyone read lips?
Fail to detect your speaker.
Not as a profession.
Not in a legally binding way.
Not reliably.
Can you try saying something now? Can you hear me, Russ? Can you say something now? Oh.
Chance's profile is muted.
What's that?
There's a chance his profile is muted.
His,
Probably not.
but he was just talking, right? We
Yeah.
heard him
Yeah,
talk
I
before,
see.
right?
We usually see a mute symbol
He's
next to
talking
that
now.
name.
He can hear us, right, Russ?
Yeah, he can hear us.
Okay, we can't hear you.
Yeah, so it's possible we also can't hear Grace, and she's
Oh,
banging her head against a
he's
wall.
saying yes.
There you
Kyle's here
are.
to save me.
Yes, I think Russ is saying if
It was all working before,
you
right?
can't hear him,
I guess it would be
We can't hear.
impolite to have a whole planning commission that people can't be heard,
that would be a real.
including the attorney.
Oh, do I need, oh, can you say something, Russ? No?
He's trying.
He's trying.
We could try to use your laptop for now.
Doing what? No, oh,
We locked off speakers.
so just,
I don't remember a seamless meeting, do you?
No.
There. See if we
There's
can.
a lot of moving
okay,
parts.
Russ, try that now.
Okay,
All right.
testing again.
So my microphone just needs to be close to my computer speaker. Okay.
How are we doing now?
I think
Can you hear?
we can hear you now, yes.
All right, your applicant was trying to speak and you had no idea.
Yep,
So
could you hear her?
We can hear, and those of us on Zoom can hear each other and the commission
Okay.
perfectly, but
Yep.
you just can't hear the Zoom participants right now. Or
Okay,
apparently it's fixed.
okay, yep, let's hope. Okay, Grace.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay, so I guess my only concern about making the glow sunburst smaller and then increasing the spacing on the Metaesthetics in Nevada City is that when we make the sunburst smaller, it will then make the font of glow smaller as well. And that's kind of a pivotal part of the logo is to have glow because that is the name of our business larger.
I was thinking the same thing, actually. I think that if you start to increase the size of the other two things and then you have to decrease everything else, they're ultimately going to look about the same or close to, and I think maybe we're overthinking this one. Personally, I think it's a nice sign all around the way it is, and if glow is the name of the business and the subtext is Metaesthetics, I don't see why we need to,
Yeah, I see the point about
Clarify.
shrinking the word glow. I get your point, Grace.
I would shrink the sunburst or whatever it is around the glow to get the language a little larger. I think that's your point, right?
but she's saying that if you do that, then you're diminishing the actual name of the business, which is Glow. So it's,
Oh, you're saying
The lettering, because
graphic
yeah,
is
so,
part of the.
so if it's like Pete's Coffee House, you know, like the coffee house is the subtext, in this case, the Metaesthetics is the subtext, but Glow is the actual name.
I think the point is, for me, the point is well taken. And I retract my, or at least reduce the strength of my argument. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you.
So how about a motion?
Are we left, what's on the table for the size and the type of the letters? The same
As presented.
as presented, okay.
I move to accept as is.
And I'll second that.
Can we do roll call?
Why not? Just elongate the suspense.
Okay, Commissioner Van Zandt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Drum roll, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Grace.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thank you, Grace.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Okay, on to architectural review. Item 4, you are,
I'm going to recuse myself. I also live on Lindley Avenue, just down the street, so.
Commissioner Van Zandt recuses because of proximity to the project.
Going to go tag team.
If I told you yes,
I'm biased. I got some interest going here.
Yes.
Is that a Brown Act violation?
I was hoping for a do-si-do.
Okay, application for window replacement and new garage siding at 755 Lindley Avenue.
I think our applicant is on Zoom. I think I've just brought her in. Yeah. Hi, Michelle. Wow, that's hot. I'm gonna give a brief introduction and then the planning commission may have some questions for you.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, so this is an application for window replacement and a new garage siding at 755 Lindley Avenue. Property owner Michelle Hayden is requesting to re-side both residents and the detached garage with hardy shingle panels to replace the existing horizontal siding. The city does not have records indicating the existing siding material, but it appears to be wood on both. The applicant has provided examples of the hardy product she is proposing. And then just to back up a little, the property is not depicted on the 1898 Sanborn maps. The assessor's records indicate that the residence was constructed in about 1950 and that the garage was constructed in 2006. But I couldn't find any information on the 2006 garage, like from the materials and stuff that they used. And that is all I have. Michelle, I put window replacement, but was that part of your initial proposal?
It is, yes,
Okay.
yeah, you should include that, thank
Okay,
you, I
yep.
forgot to put that in.
Yep, that's what was on the heading.
Yes, it was. I've had a couple versions of this application because so there's just a bit of history on this one. I'm not sure we got window samples. Did you send them with your initial application? Do you remember? I can
I think
find
I
them.
may have, they're gel wind, interior wood and exterior, metal, double hung
Okay.
windows, and they're chocolate brown. And there's 12 of them.
So it's replacing all the windows.
That's correct.
And they're all double hungs, clad on the outside?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah, with screens.
Amy Wilson, are you looking for the original application for those?
I'm trying to put the house on our screen, and then I will look back at my old application and see if I can find any.
I don't know. You're on page.
Well, it keeps loading November.
Oh, weird.
Any questions for Michelle while we're waiting for that technical
Have you
thing?
is the hardy cement product, does it need to be painted? Have you chosen paint color?
Yes, it does require painting. I'm thinking of doing like a Aegean teal. It's a Benjamin Moore color. So it's kind of a muted green blue.
There's a picture that you provide, right? Of the example?
Of the siding?
Yeah, it's,
This is my home, yeah.
Color she wants? Oh. I didn't gather
The-
that.
the,
I thought it was
the-
just a siding sample.
The examples of shingle siding show colors, but are those somewhere in the area of colors you're proposing?
Yeah, that's what I need.
It's just,
No, that was just mere for the image of the type of siding it is.
okay.
I think there is, at the end of this, I think there is a color sample. If you could scroll down on that, Amy?
there's a picture of a blue house with white trim. Is that the one you're speaking of?
Yeah, that's correct,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that's the one.
And now I'll also just point out, generally for residential structures outside of the historic district,
It's not
we
really.
don't typically get into color.
Yeah, that's what I was explained, that it would look a bit like this. That's a little brighter than I'm thinking, but that look right there.
Amy, can I get tech support? This will only open November meeting. It just keeps reopening November meeting.
Michelle, I think we're just curious about your overall
Yeah, just curious.
composition.
Is that a question for me, or are you?
I do have a question. Well, do you have you'll be replacing window trim along with the siding and the windows. And I'm wondering if you have trim details worked out, what sort of casing and/or sill scheme you're planning on.
So I wasn't told to bring you that, so I don't have that to share. If I would ask, I would have included that in my packet, but it's just going to be like, if you look at this, if you could scroll just a little bit, Amy, if I could ask you to scroll down a little bit so you can see this top window.
Yeah, sorry. Let me get back to my.
No problem. I appreciate your help. It's basically going to just be there's going to be a horizontal bar here, and there's going to be another one down below, and it's just going to be very simple. There's going to be a little sill that comes forward a little bit, but it's simple and plain. Just a basic trim, yeah.
Right, but you don't have in mind a picture frame. I mean, you
So if you look at this one here, I don't mean to interrupt. If you could go down a little bit on that teal-colored building, it's going to look very similar to this. It won't have this bar up top, but it will have a little bit of a sill here, and there'll be another piece of wood below. So it's a trim somewhat like that. It won't have it in the middle because the windows are there's two side by side that already have a mullion in the middle. So it won't be trimmed in the middle. It'll be trimmed all around.
understood. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Amy Wilson, are you looking for something to show us?
Well, I was going to look and see if I could find anything from her previous application about the windows.
Do you know what that echoey sound is?
When it
That
goes
tone? Yeah.
I think that's
my
coming,
computer.
yeah.
Oh, well, I wonder if there's any public comment at this time. Would anyone like to make a comment pertaining to this application, either present physically or on Zoom?
Anyone out in real life?
Where's real life? This is real life. It's all real life.
All right, anybody out in Zoom land, would you like to make a public comment on this, this item? Not seeing anybody.
If you wanted me to give you more detail on the trim, if you wanted to do screen share, I could always find an example if you think you might need that. But yeah.
This is, all I could find was a description of the windows in my, in the original application that she gave me.
Well, are they going to be like for like, or are they going to be, are you doing something new and different?
On the trim,
Yeah,
No, the windows.
The windows.
well, on the window trim, though.
it's a little different. It's a little bit more detailed than it is now. Right now, it has just 4 pieces, of course, and the top is overhanging a little bit. And I'm doing away with that. And again, the only difference is the bottom will have a little bit of a seal that comes out, and then there's going to be a trim below. And it's a common look.
It's like
Yeah, it's-
double hung.
Yeah, it's a common look.
I went by your house, and what you're describing sounds like a real improvement. It's a better quality treatment, and it sounds great, what you've described.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to improve it.
And if I may, just because I think Amy Wolfson was looking for window samples and descriptions, and so it looks like your current home has a lot of gliders, and you're replacing those with mold double hung or single hung, is that right?
They're double hung, yeah,
Yeah.
double hung,
So all the gliders go away. That's the difference.
yeah.
It's a much more traditional look.
Yeah.
It is, the only difference, yeah, absolutely, it's kind of tying into most of what's around town. And it's an improvement.
So there's no public comments. Any more questions for the applicants? Anyone have a motion?
I would move to approve. I just want to, for the sake of streamlining, can we approve The windows, because I don't know how much documentation you have and if it was actually in what we're
I
discussing.
think it was in just the description in her original application, and then she changed her citing, so I apologize. She changed her citing,
And I forgot to add it in, sorry.
yeah, that's all.
So-
It's in her original application, and I can show you, and I can use, if
So
you're,
we can approve gelled wind.
yeah, I put in the agenda as the windows as well.
Okay.
So you can, as long as you understand what you're approving and you're good with it.
As long as it's described as what I
Yeah,
just
and I
heard.
can show you the description again, and her public testimony here is also
Right,
part of the record. so.
right, okay.
And I'll throw in that that the description of the windows is satisfactory to me.
Agreed.
It seems
Yep. Yep,
pretty,
yep.
yeah, pretty clear.
I move we approve the siding and the windows as described.
I'll second.
Shall we roll call?
Commissioner Ermshar,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Approved as presented, Michelle, thank you.
Thank you,
Pretty.
everyone, I appreciate it.
Good luck with the project.
Can't wait.
I can't wait either. Thank you, everyone. You made me very happy. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, you
You
too.
again?
You, yeah, and every other one, every other.
Now let's see a high five or a do-si-do. Yeah.
I don't know if Peter knows how to do-si-do. I might have to.
Oh, he's old enough, he should know.
If anybody knows how to do-si-do,
Yeah, it's gonna be Peter.
wait, is that ageist?
Yeah,
Oh, whoopsie.
appropriately so.
Oh, wait, was that
Doesn't change the
ageist?
fact. I know how to do-si-do.
I had to figure out how to get the two agenda thing to work on these things. I don't know why it won't on the iPads. Should have caught, if you got Samsungs, that's what I suggested.
What are these?
iPads,
They're iPads?
yes.
Oh, whoa. That's so unlike government.
And I think our next applicants are
Not as
also.
well trained as a sports team, but we're getting it done.
So Commissioner Ermshar has recused because of proximity. So next up is item 5, 107 Mill Street, raised porch and railing.
Bringing in our applicants here. Hey, Justin, Zach, can you hear me? All right, I'm going to do a brief introduction, and then Commissioner may have some questions. So this is an architectural review application to raise the existing railing and the concrete porch and finish with a painted wood surface. The 1898 Sanborn map represents a residence in substantially the same location as the existing structure. The property is located within the historic district, but the National Register does not include this on the list of contributing buildings. It's just not in there. I don't know why this house is not on there. The property owners, Jessamine and Zach Whitty, are requesting to raise the existing concrete porch approximately 7.5 inches so that it is flush with the front door. And I'll just add that that's due to a code requirement for a commercial application, which is how they want to use this for short-term rentals. The porch will be resurfaced with tongue and groove wood boards painted in a brownish gray hue. The color is Benjamin Moore AF655, which is silhouette, and I'll bring that up here, but it's shown in your staff reports there too. The surrounding railing would also be raised a similar height, but would otherwise remain as is. The applicants are also proposing to paint the house in a like-for-like color scheme. And I'll bring that up here. Sorry, I'll scroll down to some of the images. So this is just this is an image showing what they would like for the porch surface to ultimately look like. And on the left is the Benjamin Moore silhouette color.
And is there a body color?
This is just the house will be like for like. Everything will be
Okay,
like for like.
all
This
right.
is just the surface of the floor will be this color.
Okay.
And then this is an illustration that just shows kind of
there
what
it
they want to
is.
do, which is just raise that concrete porch and the railing up. So it's all just going to come up about 7.5 inches so that it's flush for the doorway there.
It's a really great illustration,
I
Yeah.
was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah, it's helpful.
really good. Are there any questions for the applicants from the commission?
None for me.
None for me.
So surprisingly, I have one. If they're still on, will the railing be the same railing and you'll raise it up and change the posts so that the railing attaches in the same way?
Right, that's the intention.
Cool. And you'll have a wood fascia on the extension, the wood structure that's on top of the concrete. You'll have a wood fascia on the front of the house below the railing.
Yeah, so the underside of the porch would be enclosed.
Right, and that'll be painted the color of the porch decking? Same color as the decking?
Probably the same color as the railing. So it's like the surface would be the dark color that you saw, and then the side of it would be the railing color.
Oh, okay. So it looks like a large band that is part of the railing or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this? Here?
Anyone here have public comment? Anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment on this item, please raise your virtual hand. Not seeing anyone.
Okay. Motion?
I'll
Perhaps.
motion to approve.
Second?
Roll call, just because we're doing it that way.
Commissioner Van Zandt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes,
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that's a nice looking house, by the way.
Yeah.
I
it
love
is.
that
Yeah.
house.
And thank you for the really,
you.
thanks for the really clear graphic presentation, too. That's very, very clever and clear.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Good luck with it. Okay, so,
Generator.
setback exception. Okay, we're all back now.
The roving planning commission team.
I get to stay the whole time. We're moving on to item 6, 502 Nevada Street, generator, a setback exception.
All right. Who's my applicant on this one? Is there somebody out there on Zoom or an attendee? Okay, thank you. That's what I needed. Hi, Dave. I assume you're from Precision Electric, yeah?
Is he muted?
He is, Dave, you are muted. Sometimes it takes him a little bit to get on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you. You're from Precision Electric, representing the project?
I am.
Okay.
I'm with Precision Electric.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna do a brief introduction and then the commission may have some questions for you. So in September 2020, council adopted an ordinance and then later amended it, which established a process for processing commercial and residential stationary generators to be used in the event of emergency power outages. In a nutshell, the provisions of the ordinance require that generators with power outputs of 24,000 watts be processed through an architectural review process. This one is 20 2,000 watts. But because the ordinance also states that if you're either going to be in the setback or you can't adequately screen it, you have to go to the planning commission to get, otherwise they can be approved at staff level. This is a 22,000 watt generator to be located within their 10-foot corner side yard along Nihil Street. The front yard in the front of the existing, in front of, I think I must have messed up some of the writing, but it's essentially on their Nihil side. There is a pretty good sized hedge that's going to screen it from the street. So it's in the setback, but pretty effectively screened. And I think, so I included in your motion a finding that, because what it says in the ordinance is that you have to make a finding that there's a hardship that prevents them from being able to put it in the setback area, and that, or from being able to screen it if that was the case. That the applicant has demonstrated a hardship for placing the generator consistent with the setback standards due to the corner lot configuration, which does put a limit on the overall buildable area. And they've provided adequate screening measures.
Would the applicant's representative like to make any statement regarding it? Seems pretty clear, but if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I believe it's pretty cut and dried. Because it's a corner lot, with discussion with the client, we felt that it was better to try to get a variance for setback than it was to try to get an architectural approval to have a generator right out on a corner lot right in downtown. As Amy mentioned, it's behind a very substantial hedge on one side and a fence on another. And the encroachment is going out towards the road and not towards another neighbor or something like that. So we're not really asking to infringe into a setback that's going to put another hardship onto a neighbor. It's out towards Neal Street on the road there.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to clarify, this is not a variance because our ordinance allows this particular kind of exception for generators.
Noted.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Nope.
Public comment?
Anyone want to make public comment? Anybody on Zoom wish to make public comment on this item, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none.
Comments from the commission? I'll just say I'm familiar with the property and the location, and it's a very good, it's the best compromise. It troubles the neighborhood the least in that location. It's very well screened. And with that, I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve of the location, noting that it is a variance of our regulation.
Not a variance.
Not a variance.
Not a variance.
It's an exception that's
Exception.
allowed. You don't need to state that, but I just,
Oh.
a variance is a very specific kind of land use
Okay.
entitlement, so.
I
Motion
second.
to approve.
I second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ermshar,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Dave.
All right, thank you all.
Have a good day. Good luck with that. No luck needed, most likely, mostly skill.
This is my last recusal
Promise?
for proximity to business.
Okay. Finding the agenda again.
And this one, we actually have our
What? No,
applicant
no.
in the audience.
Your stockbroker?
Sorry. You go away. Sorry.
This is Spring Street.
Right. Amy Wilson, were you saying something?
I was saying we have our applicant here.
Yes. Hello.
My laptop's going a little crazy. Sorry. Give me a minute.
Okay, 300 Spring Street, architectural review for exterior alteration. You
Yep,
can
you
join
can
us
come up
here.
It's so rare we actually have somebody here.
Hello, thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this is an architectural review for a new color palette and window door. Ooh, that was from the last one. Did I put the wrong one in here? So the applicant did come, okay, this is the right one, good. The applicant did come last, at the October meeting and was approved to do door and window replacements. She was asked to return with a color palette that was more in keeping of the historic district. She did choose some colors that are in the historical color palette and decided to keep the entire body the same color, which is a Knoxville gray, along the stucco and the wainscot area, and then the trim would all be a black. The commission also at the October meeting decided to continue it, in addition to the paint color, to review the awning details and any other details that were for the exterior alterations. So they have also provided some light samples that they're proposing. So the awning would be a Corten metal, which would be over the new doors on the west side and the east side, and there is an example attached, and I'll go to the examples after I'm done with my report. Should be painting the stucco and the horizontal wood wainscoting in Knoxville gray and the trim details in black. Replace the wall lighting with fixtures as provided in the plans, and I'll also bring that up on the screen. And refurbish or replace any of the horizontal wainscoting siding if and as needed. The site plan here does include some improvements for a wall and fence detail, but these are really consistent with site plan features. There's going to be a larger overall plan for improving that space coming to the commission fairly soon. And so those will be reviewed as part of that overall site plan development.
And, and so that's a separate application.
Yeah, so
We just don't consider
yeah,
that.
so I think I put in my motion that you're approving the repainting, or you'd be reviewing right now, the repainting, the Corten awning, and the lighting, and that would be, that's all for this proposal.
Okay. Rebecca Kaufman, right?
Yes.
Our applicant.
Yeah, I think Irene did a very accurate job. We changed out the blue, what may have been considered a really dark blue to more of a gray.
Mhm.
And decided just to do the whole building the same color instead of keeping the wood on the bottom. And then on the very last page, we gave some samples of Corten in all its different configurations, because it starts out gray and then turns, rusty looking. So, and then there's also a couple of light fixtures.
So, yeah, so the previous application had the horizontal siding being the darker trim color.
Yes, it was a different color, yeah.
Yeah, espresso bean or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any?
I think the model, you can see on the last page, we tried to, and on the computer, it's a little hard to get the exact color, but you can see the uniform color and then the Corten awnings mocked up there.
Scrolling. Oh, do you have that up, Amy, on the?
Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
there's the
You're
light
what are you wanting me to pull up? The color?
Yeah,
It's just above that, there.
So there's some renderings.
Yeah, there's
Is that
some
what you're looking at?
renderings. Yeah.
And then there's little actual color swatches that I can go to also.
Any question? Do you have any questions, Amy?
Not yet.
Peter?
Well, it's nice to see that you're gussying it up, if you will.
I know.
It's been a pretty plain building for a long
It's
time.
still a pretty squatty little building.
Yeah.
But it's in a
It's
nice,
going to be retail?
it's gonna be a tap house.
Oh, okay. Hence the chairs and table and chairs?
Yeah.
The models look nice. It's very inviting. That's my unofficial opinion. So I have a question. Are you, let's see, committed to the full rusting version of the Core-10 for the awnings?
That's our thought, yeah. You know, a little farther down the road on Spring Street, there's an old rusting tin barn, and then you get to KVMR, and there's the rusting tin, and
Right.
it's kind of, and also at the deli across the street, across South Pine.
Yeah,
So we've got that language in our neighborhood.
quite so. Are there degrees of rusting, though? Is the type that you're going to use, planning to use the fully rusted one, or like the KVMR building has thin spots and rusts?
Yeah, so they didn't use Core-10, they used sort of a pre-weathered corrugated steel.
Like a chemical treatment or something?
I'm not sure exactly how they make it, but you buy it to look like old steel. Core-10 will rust completely, and it will turn sort of this reddish brown, which is like a fast 100 years.
There's a sample in your packets, but then also on the Zoom link, on the Zoom image.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions.
I don't have any questions. It's a pretty straightforward
Opportunity for public
presentation.
comment.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any public comment on the application in-house, on Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom wish to make public comment on this item? Not seeing any.
All right, back for discussion.
Pretty straightforward to me.
Okay. And the comment I'll make is that making the horizontal siding be the body color really lightens up the dark foreboding. It's a good looking, no doubt, but it's an improvement, and the colors are good, in my opinion. The light fixtures it's a big improvement, in my opinion. So with that, how about a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Beat you to it.
All right, I'm ready to go with a yes or a no.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes.
and Chair Nye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Yeah.
Thank
hope it
you.
goes-
Yeah, good
hope-
luck.
hope that
When's
really
the
goes
opening?
well.
Do you have an opening date?
No,
Too much work to do?
we don't have a paint date yet, but at some point in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Look at us just being so agreeable today.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Are we fully agreeable?
For us, yeah.
Good applications, I'd say.
Yeah.
Those are kudos for Amy when we get complete descriptions and all of the backup stuff. It
thank
really
you,
makes it easier.
Very, very good applications.
Stay a while.
Okay. Let's see.
Next up.
Anyone need a brief recess, or are we okay to continue?
Okay.
I'm good.
Yes, Peter?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right, we'll continue then with item 8, 201 Gold Flat Court, Gold Dust Botanicals LLC, cultivation and self-distribution.
And do you want, okay, I'll pull you in as a,
We're gonna have a visual aid today,
Okay,
go
cool.
along with our presentation.
And if you'll introduce yourselves, I kind of missed that with
Yes,
Rebecca.
hello, my name's Colin Sander.
Colin?
This is Ilya Pertzoff, my partner. We are both owners and operators of the proposed project, Gold Dust Botanicals Cultivation Facility. Ilya and I are locals here in Nevada County. We are raising our families here, and we're thankful for the opportunity to invest in our community. We're excited to bring revenue and future employment to Nevada City. We have been working diligently on the project to create the most efficient design for a successful and manageable project locally. So I'd like to show you our project.
Can you give me 1 second? I'm screening.
Sure, of course.
There we go.
Thank you, Lindsay Gusa, our consultant.
It's being beamed from back there. Wow.
She's got it.
I got this going on.
All right.
Let's see, we're Gold Dust Botanicals. We are a cultivation company. I'd like to show you a picture of our building. This is our building site. It's located at 201 Gold Flat Court. I would like to tell you a little bit about the vicinity. Here are some other permitted businesses for cannabis in our nearby area. We have Bronx Extracts within the same building as us. Vital Garden Supplies next door, as well as 138 New Mohawk Cannabis Complex just down the street. For our parking setup, we have 9 available spaces at the building for our use. Elia and myself are the only full-time on-site employees. Our other full-time employee includes 1 office compliance employee that will work off-site. Next, I'd like to get into an explanation of our floor plan. Here's a quick run-through of the premises to show the location of some of the systems we'll be taking a closer look at. We have 3 flowering rooms. We have a CO2 pad outside wired for easy servicing, and will also include a purge system located inside for safety. We have an HVAC system lining the exterior walls, and we have a dosatron irrigation system installed on the exterior flower room walls. Just below that is a wastewater reclamation system. You can see as well we have a drying room on the right side of the space. We have secured storage, and we have a processing and receiving area. Alongside that is a roll-up door for shipping and receiving. We also have a vestibule for visitors sign in and sign out. Next, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about our flowering rooms. We have chosen a highly efficient LED lighting fixtures that use less power than traditional lighting systems. And in that case, they also use less HVAC to cool these rooms. They can be tiered for maximum canopy under compact spacing, so we can actually achieve vertical farming in our space. Next, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about those rackings. It's a mobile double-tiered racking system. It's ADA compliant mobile racking system with a static aisle. That's an aisle that always stays the same for entry, and a mobile aisle. And this means our racking will slide left and right, so there's 1 aisle that is always created that's mobile, but we can use most of the space. Next, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our irrigation system. It's called a dosatron irrigation system. And what this is a nutrient delivery system that delivers nutrient to be mixed in line directly to the plants via the irrigation system for maximum nutrient uptake. It has really increased efficiency with irrigating and less waste. Next, I'd like to tell you about our wastewater reclamation system. It reduces wastewater and runoff by 50 to 80%. It is a reverse osmosis filtration system that will allow for water use reduction. Let's take a look at our HVAC system. HVAC is pretty cut and dry. We have a series of 5-ton cooling units on the insides of the flower rooms. They deliver cold air for maximum yield in a perfectly controlled environment. We went with multiple units to create redundancy, so we never have a full shutdown of any room. Units will be located along the exterior of the space as seen in the diagram. Okay, next I'd like to jump into safety and security. I'm gonna give you guys a second to go ahead and take a look at our safety and security plan. Our safety and security systems will meet state and local compliance requirements as stated in our slide. Everyone wants a minute just for a second. Take a look at that.
So this means that you're going to be holding on to data for 90 days?
Correct.
Okay.
Next, I'd like to jump into our odor control plan. Odor will be mitigated through a series of activated charcoal carbon filters, and they're rated for the cubic square footage of the space. The CFM rating on these is to change over the air within the room per cubic foot every minute. So the air each minute will be recycled through these filters, essentially cleansing that air every minute of the day. They will be placed on the ceilings, evenly spaced throughout the flower rooms and dry space. Finally, it's a rundown of our facility. I'd really like to thank you for your time today and the opportunity to present this to you. We feel we have designed a state-of-the-art indoor facility with up-to-date equipment and systems, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
What's your expectation for company growth and employee employment?
We absolutely want to grow as a company, and we want to grow here locally in Nevada City. Our idea and what we hoped to do with this facility was for this to be a kind of a proof of concept for us. Ely and I have been working towards growing here at home. We live here. We're raising our kids in schools here. So what we would like to do is start with this facility and look on to other facilities that fit the prototype and that could be larger, and we could bring on more employees and create more tax revenue for Nevada County and Nevada City. And we want to employ locally.
It's pretty interesting technically. I mean, thanks for the great presentation. It's more than is required, I think, and really like helpful and really interesting too.
Seems like the place to be during smoke season.
Yeah, that's true. We can all go hide in those rooms together, but there's actually only one mobile aisle, so I don't know if we can all fit.
With our wheelchairs.
Yeah, yes, we can get a wheelchair down that aisle though, that is true.
And just out of curiosity, not pertinent to your application's a good application.
Sure.
But the mobile aisle is for access to the plants.
Yeah, so
it's like those
It's like libraries.
like record storage
that's where it
areas
comes
where you.
from. So the idea came from libraries. We started seeing them in department stores and like Targets, and they started using these racking systems in grocery stores in the back. And you essentially create more storage because you can take up the entire space of a room.
Yeah.
And you can create a 4-foot aisle that now can just be moved. And the racks are really cool. They're double tiered. They spin on these wheels. They're all on grids on the floor that can be rolled over with wheels. So it's the technology has really grown in even in the last 5 years, and we're really excited to, have a state-of-the-art facility right here at home that we can stand behind and we can showcase.
And is this building on a business that you already have? Forgive me if this was in the staff report. Is this, you've already done all your permitting and?
Yeah, we've gone through the permitting process with the city. We are poised for our state permit once we get our local city permit. Everyone's reviewed our package, and I think this is our final step.
There will be some build out, they'll get
Yes.
some stuff from the building department after this, but the first step is to get their local entitlement.
Correct, thank you.
I'm still just plain old curious about the process.
Yeah, please. Please ask.
I'm unofficially curious. So the rapid changeover of the air in the space, is that is the advantage to the plants? Is the advantage to remove heat or humidity or to?
Well, airflow always benefits cannabis plants no matter what, or any farming.
Because there's a lot of changeover.
It is a lot of change. The idea is to create zero odor, to create no nuisance to our neighborhood
Yeah, I
and our
thought it was a
surrounding neighbors.
nuisance-related issue.
Our rooms are also completely sealed. We're using a type of wall framing technology that is it's similar to what they use, again, in like grocery stores for refrigeration. They're like refrigeration panels. So when you close the door to this room, it is completely sealed. And then we're changing the air over. So essentially, somewhat of it could be considered overkill, but what we're trying to do is be responsible in our community, be responsible neighbors, and from the outside, you're not going to smell a thing.
Can I be likewise unofficially curious?
Sure, please.
What's the maintenance like on those filters?
The filters will change out about I want to say about 4 rounds, so it'd be about a year change out. They're attached to a inline fan that's high powered. It's like a 10-inch inline fan, and that's what's actually circulating the air. Charcoal filters themselves annually will replace.
And enforcement of odor emission is that monitored by is there a scheduled inspection process, or is that complaint-driven?
For odor, it would be complaint-driven. There are some inspections that the police do, I believe, regularly, and the environmental health department might do, and that might just be for manufacturing. They might not do it for this is actually our first cultivation application since our ordinance was updated to allow it. So we haven't. I don't know totally what all the enforcement regulations will be for that, but typically odor is complaint-driven, and we have had other businesses that have had complaints, and our cannabis compliance officer will go out and work with them.
I'm also curious about the water recycling aspect of it.
So the water reclamation system, wastewater reclamation system, we want to be very conscious of the environment. We live here, we're outdoor enthusiasts. Like I said, we're raising our children here. So, you know, we've tried to look at every aspect about this to also be as green as we can be and to grow that way as well. So essentially this wastewater reclamation skid, what it does is after the plants get irrigated and you have a naturally salt-derived fertilizer that moves through your irrigation system, it goes to the wastewater skid and it separates the solids from the liquids with reverse osmosis. That water can then be redelivered back to our water storage and be used to feed our plants and remix. The waste that is now solids can be disposed of in our approved cannabis trash receptacle instead of, let's say, going down the drain.
And then where does that go?
I'm not completely sure personally how the city removes.
The city collects it?
But you mean if it goes down the drain?
Well, it doesn't go down.
Okay.
We-
So,
we-
yeah.
He's talking about the solid waste,
This-
right?
The solid waste, it's similar to like big leafing cannabis waste would, it goes to an approved cannabis receptacle, I think.
I believe a company called ManyWays
Yeah.
will have scheduled pickups of leaf material, plant material, and they dispose of it offsite.
And they'll, as a part of their conditions of approval, they'll have to provide me a copy of that contract.
And that's routinely done around here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we have several businesses.
One's Geico and one is ManyWays.
Yeah.
We went with ManyWays. They do Wednesday pickups at the 138 New Mohawk facility, so they're already in the area. So it wouldn't like create any extra traffic or anything of that nature. So they would just make an extra stop when we needed it. They're kind of like on call, so if you're like, hey, we don't have any waste this week, they don't even stop. They provide 2 receptacles that look like a recycling bin, same thing, except they're red with black lids. And then they take them and haul them off, and they have a permit from the state to haul cannabis waste.
Thank you.
You're welcome to come talk. I'm just worried that it's gonna be hard for them to pick you up on the mic.
Yeah.
So.
And since we're asking-
You're welcome to come up and join.
Where do they take the waste? Is that a regional?
It's through the state, how they're permitted. I'm not sure where their actual receptacle is. I just know
Phone here,
that
too.
they.
Can she talk on this microphone or that one?
You are probably
She enunciates well.
And I do know that I helped another distribution and manufacturing in the 138 New Mohawk building when that was all first starting. And we did have a lot of back and forth with environmental health, just within the county, whether it was cannabis waste was hazardous or those things. So we've done a lot of work to kind of get it where it is, and they have approved ManyWays as a hauler. So it'd be the same thing as like self-hauling. But anything that has cannabis in it will go into that receptacle. So whether it's a stem or a leaf or anything from the floor.
And so the solids from the water, which
Right,
are
so this
considered,
system will separate those solids and liquids, basically making the water at an acceptable ppm to environmental health. And then the solid will be like disposed of in that receptacle so that they can then haul the cannabis part of it away.
And to explain a little bit about the solids as well, it's a very minimal amount of the water. It's at its peak, it's about 1,000 parts per million. So if you looked at 1,000,000 parts, it'd be 1,000 of those. And it is naturally derived nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, essentially. That comes from, earth-derived materials.
And those outputs are periodically sampled, I'm presuming?
We'll be going through a rigorous metric process to have all of our product tested for safety, for everything. And we use fertilizer for about 7 weeks of our flowering cycle, and we build up and then arc and build back, and then we go through a whole flushing stage where our product gets completely flushed with fresh pH water for 10-plus day period, essentially creating a very clean end product for the consumer.
I'm wondering if Thomas's question, though, was about sampling what's coming out of the facility
Well,
into the
that's what I was
public
referring
system.
to, and my question then goes to, thanks. Amy Wolfson, does the city from time to time monitor the output from there, because it does go into the city wastewater plant?
So one of the conditions for the city engineer is that he needs to do an inspection, and I believe he may do it every year. They have to renew their permit annually. But if they suspect something's going down a drain, they'll approach the offender. But they do need to get them to show them how they're going to remediate the waste, so that they're not sending anything to, because it can wreak havoc on our wastewater system.
Right, now the chemical composition of the influent is monitored, it's pretty well known.
Environmental health is actually pretty stringent on how you dispose of water as well. I will say that in their inspections.
I mean, we've put a lot.
Yeah.
We've put a lot of thought in this.
Clearly.
It's not an inexpensive wastewater skid by any means.
Nothing about this looks
Seemingly.
inexpensive.
No. We really we want to be conscious members of the community and the business community here, and we're really looking to grow here locally.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to know, and it's a big departure in so many ways, technically, certainly from architecture review. So it's great to have this kind of like learning session, so I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Happy to be a part of this.
Of course, the technology, evolves too, and so anyway, that's cool. Any other questions?
I'm fine. Thank you for the explanation of
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
manufacturing.
Really appreciate
Thank you again for having us today.
I would like a tour sometime.
You absolutely can have a tour.
Sounds.
Get that build up done first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I've never seen such a thing, so it'd be really interesting.
Yeah,
and helpful.
it's come a long way from where it's all started. So it's,
So this is going to be our first in-town growing facility?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
we've been watching the law for a while now. So
I do have
I'm
one
very
other-
excited to open our facility.
Not a specific question. So in terms of, just reading our responsibility to approve that any health, safety, or welfare impacts be mitigated to the community, I feel like we covered water and air, and I guess I'm just curious about energy, and I don't even know how we would evaluate that, but when you're talking about, multiple HVAC systems or things, I don't know.
Pretty much every applicant gets the same question for me because we do have an energy resolution to reduce our energy use, I think to a net zero by 2050. So, but we have no real methodology for getting there. So, I asked them to provide information on what they're doing. In this case, they're using the LED lights, and I think you guys mentioned that you would prefer to use solar if you can.
Yeah, we're currently renting this facility as we build revenue. Early on, we would be happy to work with our building owner and our landlord to start adding solar panels or solar energy into our grid to offset our power usage. And as we grow as a company, that's absolutely something we're conscious of and we want to move towards. If we own the building, we could get started on that right away, and it's something that we will work with our owner on.
I suppose that raises another question about power outs. What's the contingency plan there? Do you have generators?
We have a small backup generator, and the way, essentially the way this would work for cannabis is doesn't create enough power to power the whole facility. What it would do is it would keep a lighting schedule for our plants that would keep our plants generally at like a homeostasis, essentially. So flowering light schedule is 12 hours on, 12 hours off, right? So let's say we got a blackout, we had 2 days of no power. That small generator has a small lighting grid that would just essentially keep the plants on schedule so they don't do something like seed. In that case, in these airtight sealed rooms, Plants kind of sit in a homeostasis space. What it does to us as a business is it sets us back a couple days. What it does for the plants is it keeps them in a stable place. What it does for the city is we don't install another big power usage to our building, essentially. So that's the route we've chosen.
That's the one place where I would be wondering about the air filter and like the possible nuisance. Not that I'm like, I don't know if I need to really dig into that, but I can just see that being the one time where it could go wrong possibly.
Yeah, and I can understand where you're coming from with that. Those, we're working with engineers and we can address that issue. Those run off 120 volt outlets. It would be somewhat simple, I believe, to keep the
Get an
air
extension
filtration
cord?
and the lighting systems on the same generator grid. And that's noted.
Yeah.
Just for informational, because you guys are asking about like power usage and energy and all of those sorts of things. The state has actually implemented a scientific review now when you go to put in an application and or renew. And you have to go through, it's I think like a 25 or so page packet. Amy, I can actually provide you with that if you'd like to look at it.
Sure.
And they are asking for a report of power. So whether this is for cultivation. So they're doing this for all of your farms and things that are in the county that are not within the city limits as well.
This is for indoor and outdoor?
So they're asking, are you on a grid? Do you have solar? Are you using a generator?
Okay.
And then they're asking how much of that you're using. So they're actually monitoring as well.
Wow.
So, but that's from a data aggregation
Yeah, it's not a-
standpoint,
it's
right?
not
They're
a
just gathering
regulation.
data.
Well, it's from the cannabis branch. It's kind of like tailored to cannabis agriculture versus just the agricultural branch. Because the DCC, they all merged now. So, but they are requesting that. That's something they sort of developed over the past year. So that's good to know, at least for you guys, that they are monitoring energy use and power and things of that nature.
And it's possible they're aggregating data so that they could come up
Right.
with some
Make an
sort of
informed
policies.
legislation, yeah.
Sure.
I want to tag on to Amy Cobden's question regarding, power outage. I could see the downside to the product with the loss of power. What are possible impacts to the community? Since exhaust fans filtration isn't working, everything's sealed, there wouldn't be any like leak of anything.
No, honestly, with if the lights aren't on, the plants, we water to about 70%, and then they dry back to a moisture rate of about 30%, and that's our kind of peak average. So if you get a power outage, essentially those plants will be, like I was saying, in a homeostasis place. They're not going to be getting incredibly dried out in these rooms.
Right.
We can keep air filtrations and fans going along with just auxiliary lighting to keep them in a stable place.
How about water filtration?
They won't be watering.
They
They'll
won't
just-
be watered.
They would just essentially, they'll be sleeping essentially, and they would sit for those amount of days with just enough lighting to keep them on the right schedule so that they don't seed or go into any kind of hermaphroditic state.
And nothing untreated goes out into the sewage system or the.
Not at all.
Because there's no watering,
Not at all.
Got it, yeah,
We're
okay.
reusing the water.
So
We're reclaiming the water, separating, and then reusing it.
So worst case, in a prolonged outage, the product suffers and.
It can, honestly, we've had experience where it hasn't, so what I believe would happen is it just would push back our harvest date as a business. A power outage would just set us back on revenue, but I don't see a major environmental impact to the city or the county.
And also in the application, it talks about power, there are rooms alternating times. So all the rooms are never running at one time and pulling all that power. It's like a 12-12 and they flip. So one's at night, one's during the day. So it's not just this constant power pull within the facility.
So for a more metered
Right, it's an
grid draw.
offset, right, correct.
Well, actually, in that sense, it is a constant pull. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's-
More constant.
Yeah.
Right, but
It's constant.
less,
Different
less
levels.
stable.
less severe, yeah. Okay.
All right, is there any public comment from people present on this application? Applicants have made comments. That's me trying to be funny. Is there any public comment on Zoom?
Okay, we all laughed.
Yes,
You got
thank
the
thank
laughs.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Not for the
Anybody on
reasons you
Zoom
wanted.
wish to make a public comment on this item? Raise your virtual hand. Not seeing anyone.
Okay,
I'll motion to approve.
wait,
Yeah. Oh.
I have a question. I have a
Man,
question for staff.
Another question.
Not trying to be suspense inducing
Pulling the
here.
football every time.
So all the questions that are indicated on the application have been answered satisfactorily according to all
Yeah, and
authorities.
I didn't give my summary, but yes, this item was, or this project was reviewed by agency staff, including the police department and city engineer, environmental health, and then also our consulting firm SCI, who reviewed it in line with our state and local requirements, and they have responded to all of the agency comments, and then conditions of approval from those comments also have been put in place.
Okay, thanks. Due diligence done.
May I?
Won't you?
Wait, you can't yet, because you have
It's a multi-step.
we do have to do a CEQA, because the state keeps asking the applicants to provide a CEQA finding, so let me go ahead and read it through, and then I'll let you go. My recommended motions. The first one is to make a motion to find the project exempt pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15301, which is for existing facilities, because the building is already existing and the proposed cannabis cultivation use is consistent with the principal permitted uses allowed in the light industrial zoning district pursuant to section 17.48.020 of the city municipal code, and there's no expansion of use beyond what is already considered a permitted use.
So I did have a question for you about this, Amy, just so I understand what this is stating. No expansion of use beyond what is already considered a permitted use. That's in the general plan, that's the permitted use, or is it the use of the building, what the building's designed for?
So cultivation, cannabis uses are permitted uses under, permitted by right under our municipal code, under the light industrial zoning designation.
Yeah, and that's our most recent municipal code, right? Or the most?
So cultivation was already allowed there. It was just limited to nursery and processing previously, and then the council provided some provisions for allowing mature plant cultivation as well. So it didn't change in that section of the code. It changed in section 9.22, which is where the cannabis regulations are actually, that's I think like health, safety, and I believe it says like public morals or something like that. That's the section of the code that regulates cannabis businesses. The zoning designation is where it's allowed as a permitted use in the light industrial designation.
So from a CEQA standpoint, we're not blazing any new trails.
Right, it's already permitted, we've already established it's permitted. Really, the only reason we're doing a CEQA finding is because the state keeps asking for it, and we didn't initially, and so then I just had to kind of make it up for people. So now we're making a very clear statement of CEQA exemption.
And then while we're at it, would you explain the second motion, the item B, or?
The finding that the application is consistent with chapter 9.22. So that's the 9.22 is the regulatory aspect of cannabis businesses in the city municipal code. That's where all the regulation is identified.
And it seems that we have found that it is consistent with 9.22.
Yeah, so in here, you have various options for making a motion. One is to find that it is consistent with the chapter. You can find that it's not consistent with the chapter and deny the application, or you can continue and ask for further information that would help you make that finding.
And having it having been reported that all the conditions are met, that the questions they are asked on their application have been answered sufficiently, that all agencies have been, are signed off, then that is that's B, essentially.
Yeah, the staff has found that as presented, the application is consistent with chapter 9.22. It has to remain consistent. It's our code, so they have to remain consistent with all the sections of chapter 9.22. And there's a cannabis compliance officer who does the renewal process on a yearly basis. Like I said, I think the city engineer, the police department, they do annual inspections, I believe.
Okay. And the extent of the 9.22 is A through F on item 10? Am I reading that right?
9.22 is just a section of our municipal code. I'm not sure what.
Which is not in the packet?
The whole section of the municipal code? I didn't attach the municipal code.
Just the additional requirements. Got it.
Okay, we're back to CEQA.
Well, if
I think I'm good.
if
I
Wendy's
just wanted to
satisfied.
make sure, I didn't want to approve one
Wendy.
and then have questions about the second one or, so.
No, it's good to be absolutely clear.
This might be the first cannabis businesses come before this body, is that right?
No, we've had one or two,
I couldn't
think.
remember, okay.
Yeah, but processing plants, I believe, maybe a nursery.
We have had a nursery come before us, but
Right.
yeah, as far as I know, they never actually came online.
And the format of presentation has been slightly different, too.
Yeah, a
There was-
lot of
there
them
was
like to
one
give
in our
formal
experience.
presentations, but
Not
you
in
can
that-
if you want.
Not in that regard, but from
Oh.
a documentation standpoint. It's all the same documentation,
Oh,
but it's
it's-
just formatted differently from my experience.
Is it formatted differently?
Yeah,
I tried to format it exactly how I've done before.
I can't believe you remember.
Me too.
It has been a while since we've done one. But if there's anything you would like for me to do differently on these, I'm open.
Okay, thanks. Well, how about a motion then on the CEQA, about the first motion?
And if you'd like me to reread it, I can.
No, I will make a motion to find the project exempt pursuant to CEQA guidelines as discussed, or would you like me to elaborate?
No, you can just say as presented in the staff
As
report. is fine.
presented, yes.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ermshar,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden,
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes. And then let me read the second one here. Make a motion to approve the application as presented to authorize a cannabis business permit to Gold Dust Botanicals LLC for a cannabis cultivation and self-distribution operation at 201 Gold Flat Road, Suites 3 and 4, subject to the recommended conditions of approval attached to the staff report, making findings A and B.
So moved, since I had all the questions.
Second.
Peter beat you to it.
He beat me to it.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ermshar,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah,
right,
congratulations, guys.
Thanks for all
Thanks a
the
lot.
information, too.
We really look forward
Yeah.
to working with the city and fostering a good relationship.
Yeah, it's been really, a really cool presentation.
Thank
And
you.
good luck to you.
Yes.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, thanks for the
you.
background information.
Yes.
That's really helpful.
Just for information also, when the renewal happens, if we contact Amanda normally, she does at the police department, and it's fire, environmental health, city engineer, and then, police that do their inspections.
They all have to do an initial inspection. I just
We do
don't know
initial,
which
but I'm
ones
saying
do
for
it.
the annual.
I think they all have the option to do an annual, if I remember how it's done. Yeah, okay.
And it'd be nice to know when you're ready so that whichever commission, yeah, I'd love to see it.
I was like, I want a tour, yeah.
We'll get the occupation,
Let's get
the
you
occupancy,
guys
and then it's a year, every year from that occupancy date. You'll have to renew the business license.
Right, we
You
just
may
want
have
to
be
see it
careful
for,
about how many of you guys go on a tour.
Just sometime late August-ish.
Two at a time.
There's a lot of smoke, yeah.
good, yeah, all right.
Reach out to me and if, when you guys are ready, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can arrange it because We can only go in twos.
They can't all go.
Yeah,
Thanks very much. All the best.
thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
And gal.
Although the Brown Act is a lot simpler than the rules they're working
I,
under.
yeah, right?
Probably, yeah. Oh, my computer is not happy. I'm not sure what's going on. Close some things.
And I will forward a copy of that PowerPoint.
Yeah,
to you.
please do. I'll put it on our
If
website.
you'd like to review that, or look at it, what have you.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to suggest a 5-minute recess.
Okay. Done.
Aren't you guys glad you came early?
We are at a recess. Okay, we are at item 9, correct?
That is correct.
545 Searles Avenue, Shire Leaf LLC, cultivation and non-volatile extraction manufacturing. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yes, sorry, I should have put more. It's been a while since we have had cannabis businesses, and they usually have multiple people presenting. Yes.
Army of two.
Welcome. Will you introduce yourselves?
Yes, my name is Christopher Howder. I am one of the owner and operators of Shire Leaf LLC. This is Tim. He's my compliance director, and all around, just generally my knowledge base for compliance, for what is required of me for the city, state, and all the other related bits and bobs that we are traversing through this project. This is my first project, my first city planning commission meeting, or really anything. This is kind of a new territory for me, but cannabis and growing is not. I've been cultivating for almost a decade, and extracting for about 5 years, and I've produced a kind of a non-synthetic form of cultivation that is geared towards conservation of the environment, and also have as little to no impact on our surrounding areas, as well as the wastewater, and also pretty much everything regarding environment and nature. That's kind of like the forefront of our business, is we want to produce a quality product that kind of tries to work with nature and not against it, and keep it as clean as possible. In regards to the actual building itself, it's a 4,500 square foot facility. We'll have about, I would say, between 1,200 to 1,300 square feet of flowering space on the base level. Our facility will be operating on a 3-part growing system. We'll have our clones, which are the small baby plants that we will be cultivating, cutting, and also producing from our mother plants, which we will have another area right next to it that will have our big mamas that will be cutting our little tiny plants off of and growing from that point. From that point, they go to the vegetative state, where they will grow into tiny little teens, and be transferred down to the flowering room, which they will be in a autopot system, which uses gravity-fed water to produce 0 watershed, using all completely proprietary botanical teas, which means that we'll have our all the nutrients will be derived from natural avenues, like bat guano, kelp meal, fish emulsion, pretty much all natural derived solids. We'll have next to near 0 water waste. All the water that we produce, we will recycle into back into our plants, and that is including with our manufacturing, which we'll be doing ice water hash, which will take all the water that we use from the ice water hash to put back into our plants, because the stuff that comes off that is nitrogen rich. All the stuff that the plants don't use, the other smaller plants will be utilizing as well. My goal is to produce no waste water at all. I know that California, especially up in the hills, water is a very important resource, and we don't want to dirty it up, and we also don't want to use a lot of it. So the autopots are going to be utilizing very minimal, just the right amount of water for the plants to use to produce a good quality product, and also minimize. We want to be as minimal as possible when it comes to energy, water, and impact on our community.
We may have some questions in a bit. Do you have things to say by way of introduction?
Sure, yeah, I'll just say, just like all the cannabis businesses, we start out by routing the application to, actually the commission gets the initial routing, and this came back in, you guys came in, I think like in August, but then there's some outstanding issues, so I think we routed it probably early October to the commission, to PD, to fire, to basically all the agencies and our consultant.
All their conditions and comments have been incorporated into the conditions of approval. They, as they mentioned, they are operating both a cultivation facility and a manufacturing extraction facility. It's non-volatile. They're going to be using temperature and pressure and ice water juicing steam distillation to extract different types of extracts from their plants. And I believe you'll be creating some cannabis oil, but you'll also have flour. Is that as part of your products? Yeah.
Correct, yeah. We'll be, our primary source will be our own flour to produce our extracts, which, as Amy said, they're going to be utilizing rosin presses, which utilizes platens that heat up, that are then pressed either manually, pneumatically, or hydraulically to produce a oil that's extracted through pressure to kind of extract all of the essential oils out of the plant itself. I do intend on sourcing material from local farms, primarily organic. I want to keep all of the material that runs through our facility as organic as possible. So kind of picking and choosing who we go with to that kind of meets our same mission statements or our goals co-align. But yeah, I mean, it's very minimally impactful when it comes to extraction. I don't like things that blow up. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like. I mean, aside from actual pressure, I don't really like things that have to utilize anything that can be scary. I like easy stuff. Though it is an art form, it's one of those things where it kind of takes time to learn and to utilize the presses properly and extract.
The one additional condition of approval, it's actually just an expanded condition. All of them have a condition of approval that say your parking needs to be off-street. In this case, I had asked for some clarification on the parking, but the response didn't really give me a lot of information about what's out there and what's allocated to you. It just was basically the lease. And I realize the leasing manager was not being super forthcoming. They just said that it'd be prorated according to how much space you have and how much parking they have. We haven't had an issue with parking out there with all the businesses there, so I'm not too concerned, but I still don't have a good idea of what your parking situation is. So there is a condition in there just that we'll have to review that before occupancy.
Okay, we'll get that taken care of ASAP, yeah. I don't see any issues with parking there.
I
Lot of
don't-
parking, and we were just there before here, and it was completely empty.
I just can't, I can't say definitively because I couldn't get
Yeah,
a real good definitive answer about what you guys have allocated.
From a perspective of moving forward with an approval today, would our approval, were we to do it, be contingent on satisfying your question?
It is anyhow, because I have a condition here, A7, so you'd be approving the conditions of approval also, that off-street parking shall accommodate all employees, distribution vehicles, vendors, and visitors of the subject business. No on-street parking is permitted. Justification of parking accommodation to meet operational need shall be submitted to the planning department prior to permit issuance. And then this is the expanded part, the justification of the applicant's ability to accommodate the business with off-street parking shall be included with annual renewals. So essentially, it really just gives us some, if a parking issue does arise, it gives us some ability to reach out to you guys and say what's going on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So since that's a hanging question for us today, were we to vote for approval, the permit is held up until that is
They
satisfied?
will not get an issue, a permitted issue. They won't get issuance. What can I say? That permit. They won't get occupancy until they satisfy all their conditions of approval that are applicable, including that one.
All right, so we don't have to worry about that. It's being
No,
covered.
I just wanted to mention that
thank you.
it's there.
Well, question on, backing up off the parking, how many people do you plan to employ initially, and what would it grow to, or?
Initially, we will have, I would say, myself and one other owner who will be coming in and operating until we plan on expanding and having more employees and contractors come in from local avenues. We do want to hire from local people, people who can drive, have a short drive. I'm from Elk Grove. I'm not from around here, but I do love this area. It's a beautiful town. It's kind of what brought me here, because my wife and I have come up here and had dinner and went to some of the wineries and checked out some stuff, and we were like, this is beautiful. And we were looking around for trying to find a good spot, and this just stuck out like a sore thumb to us, just by the locals have been very kind to us, and anybody who can walk up on the street is.
I kind of led Chris here, actually, just to kind of tell you, I have a little bit of background in this area. The first time I've ever been in this area was a regulator for the state of California for the Board of Equalization. I worked for Fiona Ma from 2015 to 2018. I was her legislative director. I was tasked with, basically I was her cannabis expert. So I was tasked with learning about the industry. Came up here, not in Nevada City, but in the general area, you know, and did a couple tours of some cultivation sites. That way we could really understand the area. Connected with the local Cannabis Alliance, the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, which I'm actually a board member of. I've been a member of for 3 years, I think now. So it's been a while. Just kind of a little more brief details about me. I own a cannabis consulting firm that centers around compliance and licensing. I have worked in the cannabis industry in compliance and licensing for well over 5 years for some of the biggest companies. Companies like Kiva and some Canadian-owned companies here in California, so I do understand that part very well. I will be the compliance director for this project, so I may pop in from time to time, so maybe add another body there, but I won't be there that often.
So if you're living in Elk Grove and it's only just two of you working in the warehouse, does that mean that you're going to be commuting here every day?
No, I'll be locating here. I live in a converted school bus with my wife and my dog.
Okay.
And so I've been like inadvertently kind of planning for traversing a little bit farther up in the foothills, just because I love being out in nature, and it's just grown to be a huge part of my life. Just be out in the scenery and just adventuring about. And so my wife and I will be moving up here, relocating, and being here full time. And it'll be a big change. I'm excited. I'm ready to get out of the city.
So it will always be staffed by employees. So that's,
Okay.
I think that's what you were trying to get at. You know?
Yeah, I'll also
It's
just,
not going to be like left by itself,
No.
unattended. So
just as a point of curiosity, and Russ, jump on me if I'm stepping out of my lane, but I'm just curious, like when it comes to harvest time, if there are just a couple of you, how do you plan on dealing with the processing and trimming? And
we will consult with a company outside of the inside the area, a processing, trimming company.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do. We haven't made a final decision on who that's going to be, but
Okay.
that will definitely be done. Yeah.
So it's outsourced, so.
insourced, outsourced, insourced.
Okay, so it says, an anticipated future count could be up to 10 additional employees during harvesting periods and 6 total regular employees. Is that separate from what you were just describing?
I'm
what
just
it
talking
is.
about, that's just talking about the processing part, the trimming. So during harvest, we'll have additional bodies there, which will probably be from a third party that we'll hire who, works in the industry. I have a company in mind. They're actually a local company. And then as far as like day-to-day employees, most days it's going to be just a couple employees. Yeah. So there will be a surge every harvest. So employees that are there, it'll be temporary. It'll be for I don't know, week or so.
about a week.
And
A
then
surge on-site though?
on site.
It's not an outsource, like it goes, because I think there are.
No, it's not going to be taken.
Yeah.
It's not going to be taken off the facility. So.
Thank you.
And if that changed, it would obviously be done through a licensed distributor. It would be done, according to state regulations. So.
Did you have another question?
No, I'm scratching my head.
I did. So the extraction will accept material from other growers.
Correct.
And the growth you see, this is just for my information, but The growth you see, would that be on the extraction side or the cultivation side, or either?
Both. I would love. My true passion is cultivating. I recently got into the art of extracting with rosin presses and hash and ice water hash. But I do intend on expanding to on both fronts. Our facility has two different sides on each side that are currently vacant that we fully intend on utilizing once we expand. Hopefully, hopefully soon.
Else doesn't grab it.
Yeah, someone else
exactly.
can do time to expand.
So time.
And just kind of on that, on the extraction side, that's a very popular product in the market. So we're, that's, I mean, we got to make stuff that people will buy in the market. So that's why, another reason why we're looking at that.
And I think, and I want to go back, I think I heard before that the byproducts of extraction will be used in cultivation?
Correct.
Is that what you said?
Yes, so the ice water hash uses ice and water, obviously, to extract the trichomes and the other essential oils off the plant. What you get after that is like this brackish green water, which the microbes and the things that I kind of put into the plants that, or the water that I feed the plants with, will consume and kind of multiply. The way that I describe the water that I feed my plants is kind of in essence like a SCOBY. That's why I don't like to waste any water. All the water that I use is kind of like a base. So aside from like having to clean and sanitize after every run, we will be wanting to try and kind of like keep that biodiversity inside of our facility, because I feel like one of the problems that we have that I've recently discovered in cultivating with synthetics and salts is that, and not to knock the salts at all, the synthetic organically derived nutrients, is that it does produce waste, and we're trying to eliminate that and kind of set a different standard for the industry, because I feel like there's a lot of waste that goes on in there, and I feel like that's something that kind of goes against the whole heart of what cannabis is all about. Using the whole plant, extracting everything that you can out of it, and utilizing your resources that you have to try and kind of mitigate the loss in the way of water, product itself, and also the solid wastes.
And we'll be actually, at some point in time, probably going for what's called an OCal certificate from the state of California. Basically an organic certificate from the state of California for cannabis products. It's a relatively new program, about 2 years in the making. Yeah.
So to that end also, I guess I have a follow-up question, observation, which I guess I'll start with the observation that how to phrase this? I love the push locally towards self-contained loop that cultivators are working on, and the attention to environmental impact. And at the same time, using something like bat guano and other forms of fertilization by nature, like, is a very extractive and emissions-heavy process because it's coming from so far away, right? So I'm curious if there's any kind of aim, and this is not a criticism of you, it's just sort of like I can tell that you're interested in making this a much more sustainable process, and I'm wondering if there's a push. You mentioned something about working locally with compost.
Correct.
If there's a push to close that loop a little bit more in that direction.
Of course.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we should definitely, obviously there's, if you're going to have to truck in, fertilizers, that's not healthy for the environment. So yeah, we're going to make an effort to work with local companies, whether it's compost, whether it's, local cultivators, contractors, et cetera, for the build out. That's going to be what we're going to do. We're going to want to focus, we are going to focus on the community. We want to give back to the community, whether that's through financial donations to charities that are appropriate. Chris is really into the arts. We are the company is joining the local alliance here, the Nevada County Alliance, so that will be done as well. So look at, we're 100% vested in the area, and we want to give back, and part of giving back is hiring local people to, you know, for the build out, for the raw materials, etc. So that's what we're looking at.
I would like to keep it as local as possible. I mean, I'm a huge proponent in, as you can hear, the arts, the nature, and trying to keep things closed loop. So yeah, that's something that I need to look into, and maybe source some closure material. And I have no problem with doing that. I'm actually kind of excited for that because that kind of gets me into contact with some other companies that might have products that I use already that be. That's nice. I like that.
And then hopefully we can bring Nevada County products to the masses in other parts of the state and increase the tax revenue here in the city. So that's obviously something we're thinking about as well.
We're not opposed to that.
All right. I figured you wouldn't be, but you know.
Good plan.
Did you guys want to hear anything about the security kind of?
I do want to hear,
Okay.
because again, I go back to this where we're supposed to evaluate any health, safety, or welfare impacts to the community. So I think it'd be worth going through each of, you know, security, air, water, sound.
100%.
Smell.
Yeah. I will jump in on the security. We are going to meet all state guidelines, local guidelines for security. There will be an alarm system. The cameras will meet all of the state requirements. I know you had a question about the 90 days of keeping recordings. That's actually a state mandated regulation that we do that. So that will be done. We are going to hire a company called Canopy Security. They work with large cannabis operators around the state. I've worked with them in my personal career. They are former either military or police officers who guard the cannabis industry. I think the owner is actually from Nevada County somewhere, actually. I do remember that. So we'll use that. That'll basically be our security protocol. Obviously cameras, all in, you know, spaces that cover entrances and exits. Obviously it's going to meet state and local regulations. And then we're going to have a very robust sign-in visitor policy, so you're not going to be able to enter the facility if you're not 21 or over. You're going to have a badge, and you're going to be escorted by either you're escorted by management or you're going to be escorted by a security guard if you're on the premise. So that will be for all our vendors who come in, who buy our product, distributors, which we're going to look for a local distributor to work with, by the way. So that's the plan. So that's what the general kind of layout for security.
And for air or smell control, I chose Ecozorb. It's a company that produces a aerosolized or atomized spray that goes into the ducting post flowering room, plant room. And on the way out, it's eco-friendly. It does not impact the environment, and we'll probably couple that with some carbon scrubbers on the inside to aid with any pathogens that might be coming in and or out.
So we're very cognizant of
The premise of that is, like, odoriferous air is pushed past this atomizer that sprays something that interacts with the smell molecule.
Yeah, so it doesn't hide the smell. It completely eliminates it. It binds with the different odor-causing molecules inside the air and completely encapsulates and eliminates them. And they become inert. They don't smell like anything. In fact, some of the other companies I believe that's utilizing it in California are asphalt plants, rock quarries, other things like that are really stinky. Much stinkier than cannabis. And
Does it make the air clean, or does it just make it not stink?
it would, I'm not 100% sure that if it cleans the air, but the carbon scrubber would collect any pathogens and other particles that would be exiting the building. So kind of coupling those two things together, it would be almost next to nothing.
So the atomized liquid is water, or is it another compound?
So it's a certain proprietary compound from Ecozorb, but it's a atomized. It could be either dry or liquid. And it's pretty much in line with the air ducting that kind of just atomizes it on a regular basis whenever there's an exchange happening.
So it grabs any like microparticulate, and then what's left over is filtered with the
But now
carbon.
you have a different compound in the air. Instead of the one that smells, you have some other molecules.
I believe so.
that have made a
Presumably
reaction. They don't just disappear though, they become a different thing.
I mean, I guess, what is it, laws of entropy, or there's going to be no net gain or loss, it's just change.
Right.
Right. I'm just thinking it would be useful for the sriracha plant down south to have
Hopefully the sriracha plant doesn't get mad at us for raising the bar a little bit on that.
That was a big community issue for them, wasn't it?
Well, odor's always an issue. I mean, with
Well, particularly with hot chili.
Yeah, I can
With
imagine.
capsaicins.
Yeah. We're very sensitive to this odor issue. You know, I've worked in the industry for a long time. That's the number one complaint from the neighbors is like, if it starts stinking, then you have nothing but problems. And we don't want to have problems with our neighbors. We want to have good relationships with them in the community. So therefore, we're going to take extra measures to eliminate the odor.
I would
Yeah.
say odor, but as well as clean air.
Yeah, that's
So we
well,
do
yeah.
get this thing of like, the dirty air comes up already from the valley
Mhm.
and the kind of the way that we're situated, and so certainly just trying to keep.
Yes. Actually, my sister works in healthcare, and she was actually telling me about that when I was talking to her about Nevada City, and she said that a lot more people have asthma up here too.
Yeah, it's
So-
the way that the valley smog settles
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I grew up in the Central Valley, so I had that asthma problem too. It dumped in. So.
Mine is just allergies down in Sacramento. Terrible.
My presumption is that odor control is probably more important to you guys, to producers and growers, than it is to the neighborhood, because it's bad for the industry if it gets to the complaint phase.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's.
I think it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Mhm.
No one wants
Yeah.
to smell cannabis.
It's like a
And we don't want our
self-enforcing
neighbors
thing.
complaining, and, you know, we want to hold on to those licenses and not have any issues where they're coming to you guys and complaining. You guys don't want that either. So I think it's a win-win-win-win situation for all of us.
Good PR to keep it good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our environmental health oversee a lot of those interior operations, right?
Yep.
We don't. By the way, thank you for sharing with us, because we're getting more familiar with the processes.
Okay.
We don't pass on the particular processes or the equipment, I don't think, right?
Whatever they shared publicly is on the website and is available to anyone. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're given a chance to redact proprietary or personal information.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, excited we can be here and be some of your first cannabis applicants before you. So done a lot of these city council.
Cultivation applicants. We've
Cultivation
had a lot of
applicants.
cannabis businesses.
Yeah. Cultivation applicant. So that's very exciting for us. So I've been on a lot of planning commission hearings around the state, and so it's not always the case. So.
Well, and also the multiple modalities of doing the same thing is
Right.
kind of cool, like today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's many different ways to do it. And
We covered previously with another applicant about power consumption, power outage, condition building. Again, I think Peter's saying like, we're not approving we're not in charge of saying that's the right HVAC system or something, but I am interested in hearing a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the HVAC system, we're going to be utilizing some of the more energy efficient models of mini split systems. So a mini split system is a system that has a register and a completely separate condenser and evaporator unit on the outside. And what we found is that utilizes the actual gravity to pump. So it pumps the fluid up, and then natural gravity feed drops down the hot side of the AC unit to provide a little bit more of a efficient cooling and heating. So it's a heat pump and a cooler, so it's kind of an all-in-one unit. But I found through my studies and my research that that's the best way to go about it. We will have included with the HVAC, we'll have dehumidifiers, and we'll be collecting the water from that. And running it through a reverse osmosis to get all the contaminants out that happens with the air, and re-feeding that either to our vegetative plants or our flowering plants. waste nothing, as much as we can.
And do you also have contingency plans for power outs?
Yes, so I have, when I spoke with my consultants who are doing my mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, I indicated that I wanted to have a potential for having a generator put in place. I haven't decided what kind of generator, what size would suffice for us, but it does also utilize having like a kind of a homeostasis mode to where we try to keep it minimal so we can keep the generator smaller as much as possible to conserve our capital, as well as trying to keep the noise down in the neighborhood. And also I've spoken with the landlord or the owner of the property that indicating that I would love to have as much solar as possible. I do like the idea of having solar, and on our times that we're not running our flowering room, or if we're doing something that doesn't require us to have as much power, we can hopefully kind of give back to the grid as much as possible. But I have heard that there's been some power outages and there's been some things like that, so I kind of wanted to think about that because the flowering room is very contingent on having that very strict lighting schedule. So.
And a generator is a separate application.
If it's a stationary generator, yeah, you'll have to apply.
Okay.
If it's portable, there might be some state requirements, but you don't necessarily have to get anything, a permit from us.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely let you know what we decide when we get.
If there, so time to go to public comment. I think we haven't heard any public comment on this, if there is any.
Anybody in the audience wish to make public comment?
Seeing none.
Anybody on my Zoom attendees would like to make a public comment? Please raise your virtual hand. Not seeing any. There's a Gina Howder on there.
That's
on this one.
She's making sure I behave.
Enjoying seeing you on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Any discussion from the commission?
Nope, I'm fine.
Me too.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to all of you.
Definitely made it a little bit easier to come up here with the cookie talk, I will admit.
The cookie.
And we'd love to get you guys for a tour, obviously, 2 at a time. So
Oh,
violate
yes.
an act.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little different than what most people would expect in an indoor facility. I really want it to be as much as nature brought in as possible. Like, I don't really want to use any pesticides. In the past I've utilized beneficial bugs to combat, so I can reduce my my pesticide use, because most pesticides, even though they may be organic, still affect bees and other natural flora in the environment, even if it is indoor. So I'm just going to try to mitigate that.
Just have a bunch of ladybugs in
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I did, yeah. And it worked out pretty well. It kind of like, it got everything out of it, and kind of they're machines. They're awesome to watch too. So if you don't mind bugs, you're more than welcome to come by. Good bugs.
Right up my alley.
I know.
I like ladybugs.
I like lacewings.
Mm-hmm.
They're good luck too.
Praying mantis, I had praying mantis in there too. And they just like live, they're just cool. I haven't named them. It's like the spiders in there, and they all have their little personalities. Favorite plants, favorite bugs to eat. But
And that's completely at the discretion of the operator. What kind of bugs you have attending?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Have a relocation program this time?
We're looking for adoptees. We're adopters to adopt our ladybugs after we're done using them. I mean, you have to give them a stipend at the end, but
Secondary business, right? Okay, we're,
So I have.
Two motions again.
So all questions have been answered to the satisfaction of the authorities, with the exception of this parking thing.
Staff has been satisfied, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And if we're not satisfied, there's conditions of approval. Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion.
Move to approve the project.
I'm gonna read through
Oh, you're
the
gonna- Conditions.
CEQA motion that I recommended first.
Yep.
So a motion to find the project exempt from CEQA guidelines, section 15301, because the building is already existing and the proposed cannabis cultivation and non-volatile manufacturing use is consistent with the principal permitted uses allowed in the light industrial zoning district pursuant to section 17.48.020, and there is no expansion of use beyond what is already considered a permitted use.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ermshire.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zandt.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes. And then a motion to approve the application as presented to authorize cannabis business permit to Shire Leaf LLC for a cannabis cultivation and non-volatile manufacturing operation at 545 Searles Avenue, Unit 2, subject to the recommended conditions of approval as attached to the staff report, making findings A and B.
So moved.
Second.
Is that Ermshire? Sorry.
It was Armstrong.
Commissioner Ermshire.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zandt.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cobden.
Yes.
Chair Nye.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. I just want to say something about CEQA. Thanks for the guidance on the city on CEQA. This is a huge issue for the cannabis industry. This is literally going to grind a lot of businesses to a halt in other localities. So appreciate the
Are others
clarity on
not,
CEQA.
are there jurisdictions not making CEQA findings? Is that?
They're
the
not
problem?
making CEQA findings, and they're putting companies through hoops. I think a lot of local governments are really confused on how to handle this issue. So huge issue. I just thank you. That's a big one that's going to hurt a lot of people. So appreciate it. We'd love to have you guys over when we get this up and going. So
Well, and
Yes.
it's reassuring
When you
to know
come
that.
back with the expansion plans, we'll be right on top of it.
all right, sounds good.
And I think it's reassuring to know that we have people who have been in the business and are as experienced and knowledgeable,
Absolutely.
working locally, so thank you.
Yeah, everything's going to be by the book. So I'm a compliance guy, so that's where I cut my teeth in this industry. So we're going to make sure we go above and beyond that. That's
Yeah.
the requirements.
And I'm super excited to be part of this community and part of the business structure and infrastructure of you guys. Like, it's gonna be a blast, and I can't wait.
Yes.
And I can't wait to just give back as much as I can. I mean, I feel like every aspect of life is kind of a ebb and flow per se, and I feel like if this opportunity is bestowed upon me, then I have nothing more to give than to give back. So that's kind of like
Specifically in taxes.
specifically taxes,
Specifically
yeah.
taxes. So we'll do a little more than that.
And art,
Get involved in that.
nature, conservation.
Well, best wishes
Yeah.
in the process of becoming a local too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it up here. I can't wait to hopefully have kids up here.
I'm trying to talk to my fiance and moving up here. I'm taking her. Is it the Christmas market on Sunday?
It's Sunday, I think,
Yeah,
is
we're
this
going
our,
to that. So I
is
drag
this
her.
our
up.
last one?
This is last
This
one.
Sunday?
Yeah, Victorian Christmas.
Got a couple kids in school, so it's hard to pull them away. But I'm like, hey, I want to move to Nevada City, so we'll be here.
And I've been working tirelessly, both here and there. It's been a rough month. It's been really busy.
Thank you very
Clear
much.
to hurdle.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys have a
you.
good day.
Good luck.
Hi, Brian.
I might ask if we can rearrange, unless somebody here is for the public hearing item, maybe I can ask.
For the what?
Only because, so Brian is here to help with the discussion on the courtyard barn that's being rebuilt.
Okay.
So what is that, item 11. So can we flip flop? Let me just make sure that nobody on the Zoom attendees are,
Here for the,
they're no longer here, so I guess they were
I
here.
thought I saw that coming when I saw Brian come in.
I don't want to wait if there's.
There's one more item, I don't know, it's
well,
up to you.
also,
And I have a hard out, as it were. I need to be, so, let's see.
I feel like the barn is pretty fast, right?
yeah, the barn should be
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
And
I have no problem in this.
I wonder, yeah, let's just do the barn.
Okay.
It's fine.
So for the audience at home, if anyone's watching, we're gonna handle item 11 and then handle item 10.
Specifically for Miriam later.
Oh, is you, because she's watching?
She is our most dedicated follower, I'd say.
And a good thing too.
Yeah.
Oh, now I gotta get myself on track.
You gotta give him a shout out for sticking out this long.
Okay, so, real briefly, that winter storm, last December, it wreaked havoc all over the city, including knocking out power, shut down major roads, freeways, caused debris and other hazards. One of the buildings in the city yard, the city courtyard, which I guess the folks out there refer to as the barn building. It fully collapsed, crushing all the materials inside, and then also crushing a vehicle which was stored inside or just adjacent to it?
Adjacent to it.
Okay. Staff is working with an insurance company to process reimbursement for the cost of the demolition and reconstruction of the structure as part of that insurance claim. The city is intending to rebuild the structure roughly the same size and configuration as the original. The barn will have a loading dock and a large open storage area and additional covered storage at the upper and lower level of the building. Siding will be water resistant board and batten, and that's similar to or exactly the same as the other buildings. A couple of them have that same siding on there. And I'm not sure I have a picture of that.
Good question. You're proposing wood, board, and batten?
I can show you a picture of the adjacent building because you can see. I'll have to Google Drive there and
What
show
makes
it to
it
you.
water resistant? Water resistant board and batten, is that what you said?
That's just what I.
It's just made for exterior siding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's,
I didn't even think to ask what that might mean, but that was in Brian's original staff report, so I just took it. The roofing will be a corrugated metal, and they're going to salvage as much materials, lumber and metal as they possibly can from the old building. I guess they'll salvage it for shelving and storage areas inside the building. I'm going to pull up. Oops.
Doesn't look like the old building's gonna have a lot of material to salvage. Looks like it took a beating.
yeah.
No, you're good. Well, hey, if you guys, I wonder if there would be the opportunity, am I allowed to ask a question right now?
Well, and just so you guys know, this isn't exactly architectural review. It's a city building, but we're asking for input because generally this would be, if it was private property, this would be under your purview. So we're just looking for some direction. There's no formal motion, so.
And I want to jump in and just say thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a neat, it was such a neat building, and
Yeah.
and it has a real visual impact. It's right there where the cool cemeteries are, and it's just a cool zone of
I love a barn.
So is the orientation the same? I know the size is the same, but the orientation of the doors and so forth, or is that different in terms of street frontage and what the visibility is for the people driving by?
It's the same, same location, same height.
Same orientation?
Mhm.
The loading dock would be in the same place basically as
Yeah.
what was the front? Okay.
Yep. It's just the other structure was from the days when it used to be a lumber mill, and it was no foundations, just big, huge beams down to the ground, and so it's lived its life, and and the storm, the weight of the snow did it in. It was already leaning and starting to be compromised, so we were looking at what to do with it already, and so we're open to suggestions, but we're just thinking match the siding of the other buildings that are right next to it, and then do new corrugated roof, similar to the commercial building across the street that Ken Baker is doing.
416 Broad Street?
Yeah.
That's really cool material. It's really cool.
Yeah,
It looks like zinc, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray, dark color, or almost black, corrugated metal.
I don't see any,
With that building there?
So this is the building that collapsed. This is what's being replaced. And then this is the siding. The siding will be similar to this
Yeah,
building.
it's beautiful. Love those buildings. So I have a query or a request or an idea that if there is material that the county doesn't find useful, that maybe you could either give or auction it to interested locals who would like to do something with it. I mean, personally, like, I can see things that I would be interested in using it for, but also I'm sure that there are plenty of local artists and artisans who could do things with wood like that on a small scale, like frames
Yeah.
or something
We,
else.
we already demolished it because it was not safe to leave it like that. And city council awarded the contract, and it was specified that we would save whatever could be salvaged. So it's stacked at the Public Works yard.
Cool. I mean,
And,
even anything that like can't be salvaged for use by the city,
Mhm.
like the smaller scraps, maybe could be interesting to other people.
Mhm.
Just an idea.
Yeah.
We do get requests to use stuff from the city yard fairly often, I would say.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Well, I think our current city manager, I get the feeling you'd like to formalize a process. So we don't have, I don't think we have any kind of process.
It's historically just been like if you know someone.
You know, Bill?
Yeah, but it's always been,
People a favor.
we've always done it for nonprofit,
Right.
not for business necessarily, but.
Access, yeah, it's kind of like.
Yeah, projects at the park or any other nonprofit. Miners Foundry was actually asking for some, but we didn't have what they needed. But that's an example.
Sounds just right.
Yeah.
I mean, to answer your question, like, that they're already onto that.
Yeah. Great.
I think one other call-out piece of direction would be, in a workspace like this, I know lighting is critical, and it's quasi-located in a residential area, and so just being mindful too, I think that Thomas has brought up some great points about, avoiding light pollution.
Dark
So-
sky compliant.
Dark sky
Yeah.
compliant,
Looking for that.
Fixtures.
So it
Okay.
doesn't turn into a big parking lot.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, there was a light, that green light at the end. But yeah, we don't,
It's like a gooseneck light, looks like, right?
it'd be nice to not.
Yeah, gooseneck lights are appropriate, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
downward directed, but yeah.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Where it doesn't turn into giant
Maybe not quite a
floodlights everywhere
gooseneck,
and
but
things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I would call it a barn light.
Yeah.
Yep. Aesthetically, something that jumps out for me just as a picture, the double vents, so it's always open, there are no doors, correct? It's just an open shed,
No,
right?
it does say roll-up doors somewhere. Didn't it say roll-up doors?
We're gonna meet with the architect tomorrow and kind of revisit that. Right now, it's never had doors, but we may want that for security.
Yeah.
Roll up
Yeah,
doors.
well, where I was going was the two side-by-side gable vents look modern. A single larger gable vent would be barnier looking.
Yeah.
It'd be cuter, that's my
Barnier.
opinion.
Good catch.
It'd be cuter.
It's good.
And a utilitarian looking cupola, maybe, if you want to make it cute.
Oh, man, and some bat boxes.
Yeah, bat box.
Like for the barn cat to
Put some
hang
bat
out on the
boxes on it,
cupola.
yeah.
On the on the
And some owl boxes.
maybe.
Yeah, we got some more requests here. Bat and owl boxes.
Bat and barn, no.
Any of those comments?
Right. Bat and barn.
That's the thing that caught my eyes, is a single central larger gable vent would be just less modern looking.
That's a good point.
And you
I
got
couldn't
so much
figure out what looked
great
modern.
stuff.
And maybe
Yeah.
one that's like kind of angled at the top too, that goes with the shape of the roof. That
No.
seems,
I mean, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm piggybacking.
Oh, that would be back to a modern detail.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, because simple utility.
It wasn't all about utility back then. You could also like do some decorative stuff to your barn.
You mean a second vent?
No, just a single vent, but instead of it being
I
a
see.
rectangle, it like has kind of an arch at the top.
Oh, right.
Yeah?
Yeah, or triangular top, but just a single one is just more in keeping with local architecture. Tiny thing, but
Yeah.
but I think it'd be
It would look nice.
cute. And the exposed railings at the loading dock, do those show?
You mean like, will you see them from the street?
Yeah,
I don't think you will.
probably not much, huh?
Because it's behind a fence, right? There's a fence, right? I go back.
Well,
to it.
I'm just curious what the railing is.
Looks like
there.
that.
That's a
Commercial.
stair. That's just some railing for a stairwell that will.
Well, a guardrail,
Oh, that's for fall protection between
That
the
little-
loading dock elevation, and then we're gonna make a drivable
yeah.
lower elevation
So
to access.
is it tubular steel? Is that your thought there?
Hadn't put any thought into it. It could be railing that matches what we do around town, or like a rusted
I was
metal.
just curious, like if it was gonna be, say, black or something, rather than safety yellow. I don't know maybe there's some requirements, but just curious.
Yeah, that was just drawn by the architect without any input so far, but what we typically have been doing lately is just a rusted steel rail.
Oh, there you go. Core 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess you might, it's like a picketed fence. I guess I never really noticed what that fence was.
Yeah, you can't
might
see
see.
much beyond it.
Couldn't see very much, but you could.
You could if you were that lady on the other side of the street.
Yeah, she can see it.
I assume it's a lady.
This person?
Yeah.
I can tell exactly who that is. It's not a lady, but
not
I
a
know
lady.
exactly who it is,
That's
just 'cause I
funny.
see him walking around all the time.
So we got gable vents,
Dark skylight.
dark sky lighting, and looks really nice.
And bat boxes.
And bed boxes and a cupola. If you could find one laying around someplace. Probably got smashed when the barn flattened.
I think what we
Yeah.
said earlier,
Yeah,
it'll
all is on
blend
there.
in. After 6 months, it'll be there forever.
Bat boxes probably don't have to be designed by the architectural firm.
Give me some of that wood and I'll make you some. That would be nice though, like a nice, yeah, using the old wood as a little homage.
I'd like to comment on the background discussion, the sweeping narrative of that description of the beginning of the intro. It has a real cinematic sound to it. The winter storm that occurred December 28th. It just sounds.
That's all Brian's artistic.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Very
I
nice.
stole it from his.
I wanted background music when I first read it.
Could be the opening line of the
Flash
novel.
the city.
We had to make
I didn't pick up on that.
We
That's
made a
cool.
claim with the governor's office. We've been working a lot with them on getting reimbursement for all the tree work.
Yeah.
Most of it was tree work, but we spent $800,000 on all that,
I'm not surprised.
and we're getting 75% reimbursement.
And also,
That's-
commendations to the city for the cleanup that was done. It was a gargantuan task, and it was a skeleton crew. They came to my house, and they did an incredible job.
It was gargantuan.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were 4 different local contractors, so they helped us out. And then they were doing Grass Valley also.
Yeah, there was a lot to do.
Approved.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
we'll
the
take these
input.
Thank you.
Again,
comments
thanks
back.
for asking. Appreciate it.
I'm just thinking, the architect might ask, he's got the structural beam probably coming up in the middle of the roof.
Oh, maybe that's why the vent
But-
is
Oh.
split.
You can work around that.
Well, not necessarily. They're really good, Sightline. I mean, it's just,
They can maybe make it look
I can,
like it's
yeah, I
part of
can
the
see
vent
that
and not
post,
actually
like that would
be
involve
part
some
of it.
sort of header thing or something, but.
We'll let them figure that out.
It's just gonna cost $50,000 more,
Yes, it's
but
gonna-
if it makes you happy.
As long as it's pretty, cost doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay.
So we're moving on, or back, to item 10, municipal code text amendments consistent with housing element commitments. And I'd like to say at the outset, I would like to propose we ask what questions we need to, and then continue this to another meeting to approve, if that works for the planning department.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you guys feel like you need to do, that's fine.
And that's an option. There is a time limitation here for me anyway, and also the city council is coming in just after us, or not immediately after us.
What time do we need to
Sooner
wrap up
after.
here?
Well, their meeting starts at 6:30. I do need to get our iPads all charged up again. But
So like
I think we'll be
45
fine.
minutes, or?
Except I have to leave in 15.
Okay, that's the part I didn't know.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So 15 minutes Q&A, and with the knowledge that if we need to postpone, we can.
Right.
Okay, just do it well. We'll just do it well.
I'd like to add to that, I feel that we'd be doing ourselves a disservice to not continue this in the absence of Rod today, because I feel that he always provides really good contributions to these particular discussions.
And he did review it and reach out to me for comments. So,
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, he definitely
agree.
did review it.
Yeah.
I miss our friend.
Yeah.
And it's sort of his wheelhouse. Gable vents are mine.
And window aprons.
Yes.
I care about those. So would you like to introduce this for us, Amy?
Yeah, so in March this year, I presented to both Planning Commission and City Council our annual progress report, and in that report, besides going through like how many permits we've issued and how many, where we are in terms of meeting our regional housing goals, the housing element itself that we adopted in late 2019 includes a list of tasks, one of which was several municipal code updates that we were required to do to be in line with state law and to be in line with the housing code that we adopted. We did commit to doing that by the end of 2020. We got a little off track.
By the end of
after COVID.
2020?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So
Just checking.
I am a little bit behind. There's not, so far we have, HCD has not, been too pressing because there's COVID and, I think there's probably a lot of jurisdictions that got off task. I don't actually know if HCD cares too much until we get to the end of our cycle. But I do have to prepare an annual report to HCD every April and let them know where we've made progress and what we still have left to do. Yeah.
I always need the why, sorry, and you're getting at most of it, but the quote is to update the municipal code pursuant to program goals outlined in the housing element, and then there are low-hanging fruit, meaning
the things that are easier to do, like there's
a specific list that says these things need to be updated,
Yes.
and then we just do them, or?
Yeah, attached to this staff report, I added the 2019-2027 housing element task table. Task 4 is several municipal code updates that we're required to do. I think in most cases, our consultant who helped prepare the housing element cited the state law that says where we need to, how we need to update it. So essentially, I think I grabbed all these, summarized them here, but they're also listed in that task table. Omit discretionary review of tree removal in the R3 zone. So that just means if someone's proposing a development and they're removing trees, it has to be approved administratively. Can't be a discretionary approval. That doesn't mean they can't tell you what trees they're removing, but you can't hold up a project, a multifamily, high-density residential project because of tree removal. I doubt we'll have too many really rare or trees that are like Felix Gilles. We have 2 areas of R3, at least right now. That's something to be, to be mindful of if we ever do have to rezone, maybe we want to take a look at what kind of.
This, I mean, that could, that seems like a big deal.
To not allow, just on our 3 properties.
Just on what property?
Our R3, high density
Multi-house.
multifamily residential, we
yeah,
have
So
3 acres, 2 acres zoned for that.
We do.
Our city, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in those 2 acres, then it would be remove the requirement for them to get approval, and they could just cut all the trees.
Well, they have to get, they still, so we could probably set a set of standards for what tree removal, but it has to be something that I can approve administratively.
Would those standards be part of this process?
They could be. All the state is requiring us to do is not have a discretionary process. So that could be something that the city could take on.
So objective standards for
tree removal.
for you to administer.
Just for, just for R3 development.
Although it could also be a scenario where if there were many trees and it posed,
A hardship or something for.
or if there was community concern about the impact, that you could bring it to Planning Commission for guidance in the same way that perhaps Brian just came to us now. Is that a possibility?
That would probably be tricky, I would guess.
It's going to be tricky no matter what.
I doubt, my guess is that would probably not pass the test of being administratively reviewed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
If it has to come to us, it's not administratively
Yeah.
reviewed, basically. 16 units per acre density standards.
so that's just R3. R3 designation has a 16 unit per acre density standard. So the reason, my guess is, the reason the state's requiring that in this is because the R3 zone is supposed to be, it's for high density and, hopefully also affordable. So it's really where the state has tried to help jurisdictions get to an affordable, it doesn't necessarily have to be affordable, as we found out with the Grove project. Well, I guess we don't know yet with the Grove project because it hasn't been built, but that was one of the issues with that one.
So another option for omit discretionary review of a tree removal permit, it would be omit discretionary review of a tree removal permit and build in some sort of guidance.
Process, yeah.
Okay.
Create objective standards.
Yeah.
For tree removal.
Yeah.
On just those 2 acres of area.
Would Cashin's Field be R3 if it didn't start out as R3?
It is not an R3 designation. It's, that was constructed because it's actually service lodge zoning.
Yes. I
So they have a multifamily designation. I don't know what their density ended up being, but they got essentially an 80% density bonus, which is a state law. Oh, they might have gotten a 100% density bonus because they're deed restricting 100% of their units. So
They're all
that's a
deed
state law.
restricted. They're all deed restricted.
They are all deed restricted, yeah.
And they cut a lot of trees along Zion.
They did. We didn't really have a lot of discretionary review because that's an SB 35 project. So that's a whole different
But it is an
issue.
example of the impact that could, if this first bullet point is as it reads, then those 2 acres could just
Be clear cut.
Yeah.
Which is economically preferable.
for the developer.
For the developer.
But it's not congruent with what our city plan, how we identify our town as being a treed, hilly place.
So, I mean, anytime, we haven't had to rezone for quite some time, but that would be something you probably we'd want to look a little bit closer at if we do have to ever rezone.
Right, if there's more R3s, then the impact becomes even broader.
We wouldn't probably do more R3s unless we're required to by the state. So
We probably would.
Well, if the Grove develops and it ends up not being affordable by the state's standards, then they would require us to rezone additional land. So, yeah.
Just curious. This bullet point.
And in these bullet points, these are all things that we are obligated to approve? How much room is there for discussion here?
Committed to doing them as part of our housing element upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that one, the discretionary review of trees, there's not a state code, but I suspect it has to do with not having a discretionary process that's
slow things
onerous
down.
for R3 affordable housing. Yeah, so I
Mhm.
think it's probably part of a larger, make it simple for developers when we're talking about affordable, high-density housing.
Okay. I suppose oftentimes when we have discussions where someone needs to cut down trees and it becomes a discussion, at the end, they are often planting new trees or vegetation as a replacement. Is that something that could be the outcome of this?
Yeah.
That part of the
The objective standards.
yeah,
Like a mitigation requirement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for a site plan requirement, they're already required to meet certain standards for, landscaping, including a certain amount of trees per like linear foot and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
okay. And if that's a direction that we go, I think it's worth being more specific in species selection too, because I feel like there's very generic landscaping trees that are selected that are actually high water consumption.
Yeah.
They're not drought tolerant or what have you. They have shallow roots or things. That
And
are
also
not well
placement.
suited.
Yeah, and Cashin's actually, Joe McBride did that landscape plan, and they did actually amend their landscaping plan to include a lot of firewise plantings and so things that aren't flammable and that don't use a lot of water.
And by what authority was that mandated to them, or did they just choose to?
We have some language in our code that says you have to have drought tolerant plants, but I think that we don't have anything in our code. We might have something down the line after like our safety element is adopted, but we don't have anything about fire safe like plants.
So Joe was the city consultant on that? Is that how that worked?
Not the city's consultant, they are hired by the,
Oh, got it, okay.
contracted by
But-
the.
But we got lucky in a few ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
regarding
try to
that
work
property,
with
yeah.
local developers, or
Yeah.
local contractors.
What would be the enforcing body or process for something like that? Post-construction inspecting like a landscape plan?
Oh, it's me. So in most cases, when it's not when it is a discretionary review, they provide a site plan with a landscaping plan. Before it goes to you, I check to make sure that it's meeting the standards in our code. So
I'm talking about that it's carried out, because you can present a plan and then never plant trees.
Yeah, so
Okay,
then before they get certificate of occupancy, they have to, I can go do an inspection, but it's hard for me to really verify, so I ask the landscape architect or whoever, the landscape designer, to provide me a verification statement that everything's been installed as they presented in their plan.
I want to throw in a framing thing too, a framing of this discussion that like presumably will be annexing and growing into the sphere of influence, and so we want to update this as we're doing, but so that it will take a lot of cleanup later. There's one parcel now that pertains to this, but there may be more parcels.
There's a half-acre one also. I think it's just half
I'm
acre.
sure there will be more.
Yeah, so we want to make a clean, forward-thinking
Right.
ordinance. So it's worth the effort.
And by the way, the Grove's gonna be tricky because it was affordable by design. Do you remember that one?
I do remember.
Yeah.
I advise against that.
Yeah.
Wait, and by
You
Grove,
won't
you
be
mean the
able to-
one over on Champion Mine?
Yeah.
You're the
Which I'm the liaison for. I haven't heard anything from them. I need to.
I don't think they're trying to, I think, sell the project.
That's what I'm
We can-
thinking.
They're trying to what?
Yeah, the
Sell the
transferring
project. I don't know if
ownership
we
would be
should talk
appropriate.
about another project right now.
Yeah, no.
It could come back before.
So, getting it back to me, in all seriousness.
You gotta go.
Procedurally, can I step out and hand the chair to the vice chair at this time?
Yeah.
Or
Or
Do
you
you-
just want to continue it?
Would we like to just continue
Just
it now?
continue it,
I'd like
yeah.
to
Is there any, because this is helpful for
Yeah.
me, is there anything else? I know I worked with Chair and I to address some of the things in the employee housing, but if I could come back, maybe include some tree
Language?
yeah, standards for tree removal.
The other thing, I would say yes, sorry, yes, more standards. Always the why, like the bullet points here that follow. When you explained the why behind bullet point 1 as far as like trying to not create roadblocks for development, I guess. I'm trying to understand what we're trying to accomplish.
I was a
Say
bit
with bullet
confused
point
on that
2,
as
like,
well.
What are we trying to accomplish?
So let me go to,
So maybe we could submit our recommendations. Can we email you?
Yeah.
Those if,
Yeah.
in the interest of getting to movement?
Yeah, and also it's my understanding, and I'd like you to clarify this for everybody, that the goals that you're working toward were arrived at and agreed upon essentially. The goals themselves aren't really negotiable, they are policy, or they're future policy.
Okay.
So the details about implementation are malleable kind of, but not the goals themselves.
maybe malleable.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
we'd have to get Russ to make sure, so we'd have to comply with state law. So the standards in our, the outline in that table that I attached to the staff report, that just gives us the guidance for how to comply with state law. There may be some room for nuance in there, like employee housing, we could add parking standards, which is not something state law requires, or they don't have a specific mandate. And we can be, we can be more restrictive. Well, it depends on, I guess, what we're talking about with state law. We can make things easier for a developer in like an R3, if we want to. We can't be more stringent than state law allows. So
Okay.
that's all. So I'm just suggesting, you can certainly throw out suggestions to me, but if it's going to violate, if it's going to cross some threshold where we're going to actually not meet state requirements, then we won't be able to do it. But I can try, like with the tree, so I'm assuming that we can come up with an objective standard that can be administratively applied for the tree removal
Great.
aspect.
Yeah, I've got a question. Number 4, to allow manufactured homes. I assume that's regular homes, not RVs?
Not RVs, no, RV is not considered a manufactured
Well,
house.
and any home that comes into the historic downtown, I'm also presuming is going to have to live up to architectural
That's-
standards.
yes, that's
right?
exactly right. So we have to
So not an
allow
RV.
manufactured homes, but they still have to meet our architectural review standards. So if it's primary residence, it would have to actually come before the planning
So it's
commission.
discretionary architectural review.
Yes, now
for
if it's an ADU or an SB 9 unit, it just has to meet the objective design standards that we have in place.
That we came up with last year.
Yeah.
So I'm fine to
Okay.
leave
Yeah.
the gavel in your hands, so you can continue.
I think
Or
we're
are we
good.
good?
I think we're done.
I'll move I will motion to move. Continue.
To continue.
I always mess those two words up. I move to continue this to the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we move to adjourn.
This item is continued. I hereby adjourn.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I don't need
Amy.
a motion to adjourn anymore. Happy New Year, happy
I can do it
holidays.
ministerially.
When did they change that one?
I can adjourn ministerially.
Yeah. I think Russ gave him permission. He's used it liberally.
Kay has.
And thanks as always, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.